Big day for us here in the Netherlands. We're at the beautiful VCC ground in The Hague. Over the next week, we'll be showing some cricket between some of the top countries in Europe. In fact, these three countries, the Netherlands as well as Scotland and Ireland, are about to head across the pond for the T20 World Cup. I'm Mr. Maximo. This is the Netherlands T20I Tri-Series, and it starts right now. Hello and good afternoon to you wherever you're watching from around the world, and welcome to another huge day in European cricket. And really, it doesn't get much bigger than this in European cricket because we have this T20I Tri-Series here in the Netherlands. We have the Dutch side as well as the Irish side and the Scottish side taking part in 6 matches across the next 7 days. T20 internationals here at the beautiful VCC ground in The Hague. And honestly, my first time here, I am blown away with the quality of this ground, the quality of the pitch. We'll talk about that in a second, but also just the facilities here, the professionalism we've seen so far. I mean, these teams mean business. They are about to compete in the World Cup in only a couple of weeks' time. So we are starting with match number 1, just 1 match a day here. We do have a rest day in the middle, but match 1 here on day 1. And it's the hosts, the Netherlands, taking on Scotland. Now, just quickly, conditions couldn't be better, really. 21 degrees we're expecting as maximum temperature. Currently, it's about 20. Now, this pitch, it's actually a hybrid, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I'm hearing that it holds up really, really well. I think that it may skid on a little bit with the kind of mixture of the artificial thread and the natural grass surface, but I'm hearing kind of 150, 160 has been the par in these games. So I know that everyone's keen to get going. Andrew Leonard is standing by with the 2 captains for the coin test. Let's see who wins the coin toss in match 1 between the hosts, the Netherlands and Scotland.
Well, thanks, Vinny. Time for the toss here out in the middle at the Voorburg CC. Beautiful ground. Richie Barrington, Scott Edwards and Mr. Phil Whittaker, the ICC match referee. Scotty, you got the coin. Give it a toss. Tails. Tails is the call, and it comes down as a tail. Richie Barrington, captain of Scotland, you won the toss. What are you going to do and why, please?
We're going to have a ball first. Obviously, our first game at this ground. I think obviously it'll be really important early on to assess conditions and get an idea of how the wicket's playing. But yeah, it does look a really good wicket. Feels pretty firm underneath, so yeah, I'm sure there'll be a few runs scored.
Haven't played a huge amount of T20 cricket of late. You did get a 3-match series there in the UAE, but very different conditions here and different conditions for the World Cup ahead. Is that what you're using this series as? Preparation for that World Cup coming up?
Yeah, I think it's obviously great preparation for what's ahead of us. Should be a great series with 3 very good teams competing here. So yeah, as I said, arriving obviously yesterday, turning up the ground today, so it's going to be really important to adapt quickly and try and get ahead of the game as quick as we can.
Okay, give me a little bit of the makeup of your team. Spin heavy, seam heavy. What have you gone with today?
So we've got three seam options and the 3 spin all-rounders playing with Safian Sharif and Jasper Davidson missing out.
Okay, Richie. Very best of luck. That's Richie Barrington, the captain of Scotland, choosing to have a bowl first. Scotty, come in to me. What would you have done? Would you like to have bowled as well?
Yeah, we would have had a bowl first, but yeah, we've obviously played a fair bit of cricket here in the last few weeks, so yeah, we're comfortable with that.
A lot of Pro Series cricket here that's going really, really well. A lot of your boys in very good form as well. Again, is it the same for you preparing for that T20 World Cup ahead, or is there a big focus to kind of be the champions of Europe here against Scotland and Ireland?
A little bit of both. I think definitely with one eye on the World Cup. But yeah, for us, it's that one game at a time. You know, build that momentum and hit the ground running when we do get into the US.
Okay, heard some applause in the huddle pre-game. What was that for? Is there some debutants today?
Yeah, there's just one debutant, Daniel Dorham. So he's come in for us, and really excited to see how he goes.
Okay, finally, you're going to have to bat first. What would you like to post if you could?
Yeah, I think we'll probably just have to assess what it's like in the power play and go from there. I think anywhere between 160 and 200, but yeah, hybrid wickets, it sort of depends on the day.
Scotty, nice to see you. Cheers. Very best of luck. Okay, that's the news from the middle. Scotland, they've won the toss. They're going to bowl first. Let's get over now to both Vinny Sandhu, who'll be joined by Corey.
That's right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Look at those beautiful aerial shots of the VCC ground in Hague here in the Netherlands. Great to be back in the Netherlands. It's been a little while since I've been here. Vinny Sandhu here, Mr. Maximo for ECN on a beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon. Corey Rucker's with me, and Corey, super excited for this tri-series.
Yeah, the excitement around the ground has been building over the last few hours and the last few weeks. These teams a little bit more prep going into the World Cup, an important tri-series. Here are the two lineups, Vinny.
Yeah,
and
tell me what you think.
Look, a big name there. Daniel Doran making his T20I debut. Look out for him. He's 2-metre Peter, I like to call it. He's an unbelievable bowler. Looking forward to seeing him. The Scottish, we saw Michael Lease not long ago on the network. Looking forward to seeing him out there again. But Scotland winning the toss, electing to bowl first, I do think it is the right decision. They haven't played on this sort of hybrid wicket out at VCC. I know New Zealand played the first internationals on this wicket 2 years ago. There's going to be a corker. Look out for one man who's in red-hot form, Michael Levitt. After his exploits in Nepal, he's come here. He's been the leading run scorer in the Pro Series. Look out for him today.
Yeah, I know you were covering those games. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a little while. Netherlands, 55% favourites to start over Scotland. No Muncie in the lineup as well for Scotland. I was going to talk about that. Some players that ECN viewers would know really well, like Michael Leask in there. Brad Curry's another guy that we've seen before. But for me, there's a little bit of full circle about this, because I remember the first ever ECN tournament we did. And you were playing in it for VOC Rotterdam, the European Cricket League, with Max O'Dowd, Scott Edwards, and now we're going to see them on ECN again in the Dutch full national team. And I've got to say, it's a beautiful day here, and a lovely weekend crowd has come in to watch the opener.
Yeah, 5 p.m. local time. I know there was some local cricket this morning with the top classer and Hoofde classer, but overall, it is a perfect time to come down to VCC Voorburg, watch some cricket, some high-level cricket. We're going to have a man opening the bowling that we've seen before as well. Bradley Curry's going to take the new ball.
Yeah, and a big fan of him. Got to say, both teams, I like what people wear, and I've got to say I love the kit reveals I've been seeing the last couple of days as well. Got to get my hands on one of those bucket hats. See them around the ground. They look very, very good. Anyway, it's going to be Curry to get us going. So great to have your company wherever you're watching from around the world. This is T20 International Cricket on the European Cricket Network. 6 games, 3 teams heading across the pond, but right now it's time to start the series. It starts with Curry right on line. Decent length worked away for one, and Levitt, he does get the nod to open with Max O'Dowd. And of course, he's been based here for quite a while. And just tell us a bit more about that Pro Series and what it was and how it kind of fits into the story of what we're seeing this week.
It was basically the beginning of the prep for the Netherlands World Cup squad, and picking the best 15 after that. They had the Hurricanes taking on the Seafarers, and well, it was a bit of a whitewash in the end, but Levitt, he was in amazing form, and he's continued it from Nepal. Max O'Dowd, he gets his opportunity now. We've seen him on the network before. He'd love a big score here today.
He sure would. He faces up for the first time. Keeps this one out. Yeah, the pitch, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. That's a hybrid pitch, and I know that's becoming a little bit more normal. I know that now that countries can agree without kind of express ICC approval to play on a hybrid. But maybe explain to viewers a bit more, what is a hybrid?
It's difficult to surmise, really. A bit of a machined-in wicket, stitched-in wicket, but boy, it stays very true. And if you do get in, it's hard to be dislodged.
Down pushes, will get his first run down to deep third. I believe there were a few dramas with the Scotland travel plans last night. You know,
doesn't matter what level, European cricket's European cricket.
I was going to touch on a bit of chaos can follow us around sometimes, but really, that's what it's all about. I've got to say also, in my first time at this VCC ground, it is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful ground. Tom de Groot, the head curator and groundsman, does a fantastic job out here.
Swing and a miss this time from Levitt outside the off stump. Curry's been right on the money in this first over.
I should say as well, Pim van Vliet and Nitin Bhatia, the 2 standing umpires. Rizwan Akram is the third umpire for this one. So, yeah, I'm sure the umpires are a bit nervous. Everyone's around the grounds a bit nervous because it's a big game. It's really big matches for the 3 sides during this week.
You know you're alive.
Yes.
It's been a long time in the making. Obviously, the World Cup just being around the corner means this series provides an opportunity for individuals to kind of prove their case, especially those around the fringes of the 11. Keeper comes up to the stumps here, Matt Cross. Very early move, as this is going to be cracked away, and that could be our first boundary. It is. It comes off the bat of Levitt.
Yeah, what a lovely shot. Slightly over pitch. The keeper comes up to the stumps, doesn't deter Levitt at all. Lovely shot. First boundary in this T20I. And just touching on Levitt a bit, I know our co-commentator Andrew Leonard was out at Nepal, the king of Nepal. But yeah, Levitt, 54 in the final to get them over the line, but an amazing 135 in one of those games. He's really taken this opening spot with both hands, and boy, he's in red-hot form.
It's Taklu Dyer to you, by the way. Outranks the king of Nepal. Anyway, here's Curry to finish the first over of the game. Again, pretty much right on the money, maybe slightly overpitched the one that got driven to the boundary. But end of the first over of the series, and the Netherlands, after being sent in by Scotland, are 6 without loss.
Yeah, 6 without loss. It's interesting to think what par might be out here. I think a lot of these teams, first time on this wicket for Scotland, obviously. I think anything in the vicinity of 160, you'll be pretty happy with that, especially batting first, and maybe try and get to stop in the wicket in the second half.
You had a question here in the chat. Of course, if you'd like to interact with us, you can. ECN European Cricket Network on YouTube all around the world, also on fan code in the Indian subcontinent. Had a question about boundary lengths. And of course, I suppose it's strange. It's almost like a bit of a homecoming. I've spent so much time on the ECN tour with the 50-metre boundaries from the centre of the pitch. Even that first one, I wasn't sure if it was going to go for 4 or not, because I don't even know what a 4 looks like. It's about 69 metres to that boundary. Typically, we're kind of talking between 65 and 70 from the middle of the pitch. So probably 15 to 20 metres longer than you might be used to if you're an ECN viewer. Anyway, time for the second over, and it's Sol, the right armour. First one down the leg side, might have taken a little bit of something on the way through. That's the other thing. Obviously, the ICC wide rules are a little bit different. They're a little bit more kind to the bowlers, let's say.
Yeah, probably a little bit more traditional with what we've been brought up with. That one just skimming the pad on the way through, so no wide given. Sol does get it through at good pace. Deep backward square and deep third man are the 2 boundary riders. And a lovely crowd has just started to trickle in, Vinny. So it's going to be a nice sunny afternoon out here in Voorburg.
Yeah, it's a happy crowd as well. Happy to see some cricket. Summer just around the corner as well. Worked away, and that could be 4 as well. Just losing his line. Kind of in direct contrast to Curry, who never strayed onto the pads in the first over. Sol's just kind of been a little bit off in his opening spell.
Yeah, just pushing that one down the leg side. Good batting from O'Dowd. Has had to catch up with it. He does exactly that. Also another big try series for many reasons, Vinny. We're talking about this automatic qualification spot for the future World Cup. And these teams, if a team was to win this series, you get 3 wins here, you really start to push yourself up those rankings and maybe get automatic qualification in the future.
Yeah, I've loved the kind of story of these teams. Maybe the next 10 teams that aren't automatics for the World Cup. Another one that's kind of in on the pad or the thigh pad of O'Dowd. They'll get through for a leg bye. And I suppose it's pretty exciting as well. Obviously, whenever there's a World Cup around the corner, it's always exciting. Have the T20 World Cup every 2 years. But expanding to 20 teams for the first time. So obviously the ICC has said, well, T20 is the vehicle to take cricket a little bit more global. So more opportunities. Actually in the main group as well, not as like a bit of a sideshow like last time.
Yeah, like teams like Uganda who will go for their first time at the World Cup. I think it's been a long time coming for cricket to expand to 20-team World Cup, maybe even 30 in the future.
Steps away and crunches it straight. Oh, Levitt, you said he's in good form, and I think that I'm going to agree with you there. Maximo, the first one of this Netherlands try series.
He's been seeing them like beach balls for the last couple of months, this man. That is a brave shot, backs away, pumps it straight. The first Maximo in this T20I, Vinny, and what a shot.
Very confident, shows a lot of confidence in the pitch as well, to give himself room and give up his stumps essentially. But making the most of that power play. 6 over power play, of course, here in a T20. The 2 outfielders are allowed after that. They can go up to 5. This one kind of jams up Levitt, who just knocks it away. So what do you think is a good score here? I've been hearing things like kind of 150, 160. Computer, of course, we've got the computer saying 165 predicted at the moment.
Yeah, look, the Pro Series that just finished here, 3 of the games were at this beautiful VTC ground, and that 150 to 160 seemed like an insurmountable total. There was some maybe better bowling than batting in that series. I think the Dutch, though, 160 plus, they've been sent in. They'll want the runs on the board. They've got a long batting order. No reason why they can't make a score of substance here today.
Sol to finish his over. Again, kind of getting cramping. There's a little bit of a minor miscommunication, forces O'Dowd to scurry back. That will be the end of the over. Finishes with a .10 come off it, and 17 without loss. O'Dowd had to put in the big one here. And I think if that hit, it would have been out. Of course, we'll say as well, this being an ICC event and being broadcast in this way, it means that there won't be any TV reviews or any kind of third umpire directions for the umpires. So it would have been out if it hit. Whether it would have been given out would have been obviously up to the umpire to make the decision. Pretty excited, and the format's a pretty simple one, isn't it? There's 6 matches, it's a double round robin, and the top of the table wins the series.
Yeah, pretty simple. 4 matches. If you win 3, you're probably going to lift the trophy. I'm going to note that down in my book as well. O'Dowd just missed run out there on 5 not out. At this level, see those stumps usually get hit, so opportunity missed there for the Scots early.
Curry to continue. Cross stays up to the sticks. Oh, straightens down the line. Umpire has a good look, says no. Got to say that did seem back prodigiously, and if I'm completely honest, I couldn't see what was missing. Let's see on the replay.
Yeah, that pitch is on, that straightens down the line, and I reckon that might be clattering into leg stump. Maybe a life there for O'Dowd.
I mean, it would have been doing an outrageous amount if it was to pitch there and miss the leg stump. I honestly think that's a bit of a let-off, and strike 2 for O'Dowd, but he survives.
It's one of those ones, as a left-arm bowler, that's exactly what you're going to do. You want to bring it back in, pitch it in line, hit that back leg, so I think Curry would be disappointed with that one. Maybe a life for O'Dowd. Levitt's back on strike now.
Oh, this one nips back. Arena hits the back pad. That one is missing the legs up. Gets blocked by Cross. Curry's really getting a bit of deck. So I've heard things about this hybrid pitch. Obviously, you know, when the ball bounces, it's that mixture of slightly artificial. You wouldn't necessarily know it just by looking at it or even feeling it. But is it known for seaming around, or?
Yeah, you can definitely get a little bit of nip both ways, but a lot of the players say when the ball pitches, Vinny, it actually skids on a little bit, comes on a little bit quicker, it doesn't stop.
That's a nick, and that's going to be running away. 4 carreras, and it's 4 for Levitt. He's hot right now. Curry gets that one to kind of just continue with the same angle across, but with no deep third back, and was always running away to the boundary.
Yeah, cruel game to be a bowler in the power play. Obviously can only cover 2 sides of it. He's got the man at deep point, deep square. The edge flies for 4. I think Curry's another one we've seen on our network before as well. Very clever bowler. He easily could have had 1 in this over. I like what he's doing here. That seam up, trying to swing it back in, take the odd one across them.
It's the mystery of the left armour, isn't it? You don't really know which one's going to come back at you, which ones are going to continue on that natural angle. Steps away, a lot of confidence. A brilliant bit of keeping by Cross. And that's about as difficult as it gets. To take that one, goes between the body and the stumps. Maybe some suggestion there was a noise or something, but really, I think this is a fantastic bit of glove work.
Oh, brilliant keeping, isn't it? He liked it as well. He went up, but unfortunately the other 10 players on the team didn't. So a handy dot ball.
Got to say, I'm really excited to call Cross for the first time. As a keeper myself, I've always admired his work. I'm really excited to see him live. You can see there the standard that he's setting. This one doesn't really come back. Curry's been really tight early on. See a couple of things maybe if you're new to the European Cricket Network that are on the score. Kind of graphics down the bottom. And we have the XS, that's the expected score. That's the predicted score.
Well, isn't it beautiful to see something new, some different graphics? Welcome to a new world.
Worlds colliding here. Also the supercomputer, which is kind of the peak of artificial intelligence. That's telling you right now, Netherlands 58%. They did start 55%, I think. Improved slightly, but only slightly. This one is knocked away. They should come back for a fairly comfortable 2. And so it's Levitt continuing his strong start with 3 overs in. Netherlands are 24 without loss.
A nice little platform building here for the Dutch, obviously being sent in. It's actually their first games on home soil in quite some time, Vinny. We had that amazing summer, obviously, where the Pakistan, the Windies, England also came out, New Zealand came out, and then last year, unfortunately, there was no home series. This is the first time in about 2 years playing on home soil. It means a lot to the Dutch.
Yeah, I remember the Dutch summer. It was very special, wasn't it? I think you watched 498.
I think I was in the bleachers when England put on 498.
That's what I remember. And are you proud of me? I didn't say end of the power play. Yeah, I've got to say it's really nice to see this festival atmosphere. Obviously starting on a Saturday. First 2 games, Saturday, Sunday, both featuring the Netherlands side.
Look at that, that's beautiful that. Bay 13 just building up nicely.
4th over. This one jammed into the ground by O'Dowd. Great fielding, though, up and to the right to make sure it's only a single.
Yeah, that's the skipper leading from the front. Richie Barrington probably saves a couple there. Beautiful dive to his right. O'Dowd jammed down on that. Actually timed it quite sweetly. Look at that. It's like a goalkeeper in the football. Saves 3. So O'Dowd moves on to 6. Levitt on 17. Couple of adjustments to the field. Looks like third man's just come up. Deep backward point gone out. Bit of a new age field in T20Is these days.
This is a genuine edge. It just climbs over the fielder in the circle, and that'll be 4. So Levitt riding his luck. He's not the only one early on. Scotland creating a couple of almost chances, but that's going to be another 4.
Talking about this new age field, so point goes back and they bring third man up and it balloons over Curry at third. On another day, it would have gone straight to him. Just these little half chances, these half moments are falling the way of the Dutch at the moment. 29 for none now. Good platform building, Vinny.
It's also a bit of a logistical exercise, wasn't it? Because these games were originally meant to be played at VRA Amsterdam until very, very recently. As Main comes in, fraction short, punched towards him in on, no run.
One thing you can tell with this wicket though, Vinny, no demons. There's no demons. There's a little bit in the air for the bowls and maybe a little bit off the surface, but it is a good batting track and the outfield so far very quick indeed.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's going to do something, it might do something early, and you saw that from Curry, kind of getting one to seam off the straight. But that's with a brand new ball with the most prodigious seam that's going to be. I can imagine the ball kind of softening up a little bit through the middle overs. And yeah, I tend to think that kind of 150, 160 is probably a fair pass score. This one's full, and it's going to take on the mid-on. It's going to get there. Good judge of a run there. But Main's been brought on straight away. They didn't go back to Sol, who I think didn't really get the ball in the right areas first. I suppose managing the bowlers is also probably one of the main roles for the captain to consider. And the other thing is, okay, West Indies, you're used to seeing cricket in the West Indies, so you might know what to expect out of the conditions there, what kind of bowlers, what kind of tactics. But the USA with these drop-in pitches, it's a little bit of a mystery, isn't it?
It's got to be a little bit of mystery and a bit of a fact-finding mission in the warm-up games for a lot of these teams flying over there very soon.
Drives on the up this time, O'Dowd. He hasn't been quite as fluent in his opening stanza.
And he's timed a couple of drives nicely, just happened to find the fielders a couple of times. These two opened the batting, obviously in the recent series in Nepal, not long ago, put on some pretty impressive partnerships. They seem to have a good bond together. I think Vikramjit Singh, the left-handed talented batsman, will probably come out number 3 next.
We've got a fair few viewers, by the way, on ECN that do love to watch from America. No trips in there right now. He's excited to have the World Cup over there in the USA. Step away and pull from O'Dowd. Doesn't really time it, but he should get a couple. That will also take us to the end of the 4th over. It's 32 without loss.
Yeah, not a bad over there from Main. Decent pace about him. O'Dowd, pretty brave from him to back away and pump that one over the mid-wicket for a couple. Yeah, big boundary parameters. This is what's coming up, and this is why this is such an exciting series. You see Ireland there in Group A, Scotland in Group B, the Dutch in Group D. What do you think, Vinny?
Well, I mean, look, 8 teams will go through to the Super 8s. That's 2 out of every group. So I suppose each one of these teams would consider it a big success if they were to make it to that second round. But look at who you're going to have to get past. Ireland, for example, we'll see them tomorrow. They've got India and Pakistan in their group. Scotland have Australia and England. Netherlands have South Africa, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh.
I tell you who's nervous in that Group D. South Africa, if you're watching. The Netherlands have just had the wood over them lately.
That can't be a mistake.
Well, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, I think the Dutch will fancy their chances, but all those groups, fantastic teams, cannot wait for the T20 World Cup to get underway.
Okay, now we're going to get some spin for the first time. Mark Watt comes in, slides the first one in, and Levitt will get a single. Yeah, I mean, Netherlands beating South Africa in both formats in the World Cup. It's pretty amazing.
Well, they'll fancy that. I wonder if they go in. What would the supercomputer say for that fixture, Vinny?
I think it might have already blown up after those couple of results. Hey, World Cups, I suppose in cricket, you don't get as many upsets kind of as maybe a football World Cup or a lower scoring kind of sport. But they still happen and they're very memorable. Obviously, all 3 teams we'll see this week have been giant killers at some point. Scotland beating England, for example, on home soil. Just knocked away Lyon in place as one of the 2 outfielders. Yeah,
so Watt's a very clever bowler. Obviously, that left arm round, always angling it in, has a very good change of pace, but loves to try and hit the boards, hit the middle and leg stump. Operating with, interesting enough, to Levitt, has a deep mid wicket, deep mid onto O'Dowd, deep backward square, because O'Dowd does like the sweep every now and then.
Watt's very experienced, over 100 games for Scotland. This time backs away, good angles there in the offside, doesn't get past the short cover also. He's played a lot of first-class cricket for Lancashire originally, and more recently with Derbyshire. Driven back past him, that's going to beat the fielder. That'll be 4. So Levitt, he does look in the form of his life right now, doesn't he? He's making batting look easy.
Well, you talk about players in form. And when you're in form, if you can back away and punch it straight along the carpet like that, Vinny, you're seeing them like beach balls. What a lovely cricket stroke.
Tell me what you're thinking as far as how aggressive to be in the power play. Is it kind of pedal to the metal, or are you a little bit conscious of kind of protecting those wickets?
I think it comes down to each batsman to their own. I think Levitt's in such good form. He's making good deliveries go to the boundary. No doubt maybe was hoping for something a little bit shorter they can rock away and cut through the offside. So I think you just work in pairs, bat in pairs, have a discussion. But at the moment, I think they'll be very happy with this start, Netherlands.
Yeah, kind of taken a couple of calculated risks and gotten away with it so far. As this is going to be worked around the corner. They go on contact and they'll get one. And that will take us to the end of the over. So it's 39, make that 40 without loss after 5. And so I know that Scotland obviously are pretty excited to get out there first up. And like we've just mentioned, the World Cup will be taking place in the West Indies and the USA just starting in a couple of weeks, starting the 2nd of June, which is really not too far away. And of course, you can watch it live and free on icc.tv. And yeah, the biggest World Cup as far as teams involved ever with 20. And what I said earlier, they're all in the main draw this time. So if you're in the 20, you're playing some big boys in there, aren't you? Anyway, it's Sol who's coming back. Like I said, he was a little bit off, maybe didn't get the sideways movement that he was hoping for first up. He's in here bowling the last over the power play. Yeah, a little bit of a licence here, you feel, for O'Dowd and Levy with these 5 balls left in the power play. Obviously, only 2 boundary riders, so can truly chance their arm a little bit. Been a good start. Scotland applied themselves well in the field so far as well. Saved a couple of shots through the covers and through the offside. We're down 10 off 12. He gets on the pull, but this is skied. It's a mile in the air. Keeper's called it cross. He's not going to get there. Oh, well, I mean, it was a mile high, wasn't it? And it always just seemed to be drifting away from him. He doesn't make too many mistakes, but cross gives Max O'Dowd another life. Well, once that went up, O'Dowd started to walk off. He did not think he was going to get a life there. It's an error from Cross. A little bit blustery, you'd say, maybe, but he'll be disappointed not to hold on to that. Sol, I mean, to be honest, not much went his way in the first over, so he'll be spitting chips after that. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck. O'Dowd should have been run out potentially on 5, dropped on 10. I'll note that down. Maybe it's his day to go on for a big one. This one is just worked away off the hip. Maybe 2 if they make a quick turn. That's exactly what they do. They throw to O'Dowd's end, but another 2 to the Netherlands. And 2 more to the total. Levitt continuing on where he's left off since Nepal, really. 30 off 20. Lovely crowd started to come in, Vinny. A new Saturday, 5 p.m. in the Netherlands. Perfect time for some local cricket. Yeah, couldn't be any better, really. What a nice late sunset at this time of the year in Europe. Obviously, not quite as late as it was in Estonia, where I was a couple of days ago. Levitt's raced to 30. Backs away. It's the first one he hasn't contacted in the way he'd liked when he's backed away like that. Just shows as well, if you dig it in, you can get it up. And that was pretty sharp from Sol. Levitt really trying to cash in at the back end of this power play. I'd love one more boundary here, the Netherlands, maybe get to 47-48. Scotland, they've been all right as well. Wicket here or wicket or 2. I mentioned Trips watching from the USA. He's also there with Kitty and Emma. And they're also thrilled to have the World Cup there. They're saying in the chat, ECN European Cricket Network, G1 watching as well. He wants me to talk about Group D, probably, because he's watching from Bangladesh. That's the group that they're in. Sol has the same kind of a length, but this time Levitt's waiting for him. Punches it over, mid-wicket, 4 runs. Yeah, I love the fielding out there from the man at deep mid-wicket. 4 to Levitt. He's so good at this backing away, keeping his shape. Just timing it through the offside, through the leg side. Doesn't matter when you're in his form. You're seeing him like beach balls. Scotland will be disappointed they haven't been able to kind of convert an opportunity so far. Yeah, the platform's set now. You've got Edwards still to come, Nida Manuru, Vikramjit Singh. So they've got options to come for the Dutch. 1 left in this power play, Vinny. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but obviously the West Indies hosting as well. One of my favourite games in recent times involving the Netherlands was that crazy super over. Wasn't that something? It was brilliant, wasn't it? Sol to close out the power play. A bit short. This is pulled away again. This time Fielder running back with the fly, and it'll get dropped again. This time it's Watt, and it wasn't an easy one. But another one goes to ground, and Levitt gets a chance on 34 after 6 overs. It's 48 without loss.
Yeah, what an opportunity. Levitt, the man that's in red-hot form, tried to, well, back away, pump that straight. Unfortunately, didn't get it out the middle. And Watt, he made good ground, Vinny got 2 hands to it, but spills the catch.
Yeah, not an easy catch by any means. Kind of grappling with the sun slightly. They did actually get 2 off that. So Levitt will move to 36-49 without loss at the end of the power play. So I also want to say quick hello to Jules, who's watching from England. As far as that Group D, if you want to make a comment on that, obviously the Netherlands are giant killers in there, but to me it's probably the most even of all the groups. But, I mean, time will tell. We'll see which team hits the ground running. But, I know we're getting a lot of comments. People excited that we're doing this game. And Lexi saying that they're liking this opening duo. Didn't watch the Nepal series, but they seem to be working together well. I think particularly Levitt has been working very, very well so far, but they are both still there. As Watt comes back. First one, fairly straight. Quickest of singles, almost results in an overthrow. In the end, they'll settle for one. Vinny Sander here, Mr. Maximo for ECN. And welcoming into the Comedy Drops for the first time in the series is none other than Andrew Leonard.
Yeah, very good evening. I think it's an early evening, isn't it? Beautiful Saturday evening here in Den Haag. And what a marvellous, sparkling atmosphere we've got building up around the ground.
Couldn't be better. I'm not sure the Scottish are enjoying it so far. They set very high standards for themselves. And a couple of testing chances have gone down. Also, maybe half a missed one out in there as well.
Yeah, look, I think 2 clear drop catches. Matthew Cross usually excellent, not just standing up to the stumps as he's doing now, but under a high ball. It is a little bit swirly out there, the wind. We've got a wind turbine across to our right that is blowing. And certainly I think that by Scottish standards, both of those should have been taken. And the 2 different opening batters both have a life now.
That's true. And also there was a tight and a half chance to run out O'Dowd, who, to be honest, hasn't really found the middle of the bat as often as he would have liked so far. But he is still there. The 50's come up for the Netherlands as well, and the 50 partnership. What wheeling and dealing. And he'll be able to force a dot here. Interesting, Watt does use the crease a bit as well. I mean, that looked like one just kind of eyeballing balls from a long way further back.
Yeah, 24, 25 yards. It's delivery that he's kind of patented and has really come into vogue. Gerard Erasmus of Namibia uses it an awful lot now as well. And basically the kind of the thought process behind it, Vinny, is that it will offset the rhythm of the batter. So the batter will be used to the trajectory of the ball coming to a certain length to them. They'll see a very similar trajectory, but then the problem is it just dips and drops on them late.
Yes, you can't trust what you see because you're so used to seeing the ball delivered from a certain distance. So it's a subtle variation that can be effective. End of the 7th over here, and the Netherlands are 54 without loss. Well, we have a lot of viewers from all over the world, but I've noticed a disproportionate amount of Nepali viewers, actually, Lenny. I think partly for you, but partly also because the Netherlands are one of their opponents, aren't they, in the group stages?
Yeah, well, look, there is Juan Acharya who says, hello, Taklu Dai, namaste. Namaste to you, my friend. Great to have all those comments coming in, and it's just wonderful to be able to broadcast these matches live. 7 overs bowled thus far. Game right in the balance, I would suspect. I don't think the Dutch have quite got away from Scotland despite those 2 drop chances, and these 4 overs of wrist spin, of mystery spin. He bowls a little bit of everything, does Chris Greaves, so we'll see how they come out for him. They could be quite important through these middle overs, but yeah, always nice to hear Nepali voices in the chat. Great to hear from you.
Yeah, I suppose wickets in hand, not as much of a concern now, having gotten through the first 7 without a loss. First one's a low full toss, just worked away for 1. You have a very special relationship, don't you, with the Nepali region. I love watching cricket from there. I've got to say, one thing I love is the crowds and the kind of energy of the crowds. And to be honest, I'm getting a good vibe from this crowd as well. A lot of the Dutch supporters have come out.
Yeah, big time. Couldn't agree more, Vinny.
Reeves gets just whacked away to wide long on. They're going to try on the 2. Throw pulls the bowler away, and we'll get the 2 left to 40.
I think the exciting thing for me is that the associate game right across the board, whether that be there in Nepal, which is somewhat the spiritual home of the associate game right now because of those crowds, it's never been stronger. And that's from here in Europe to Asia to the Americas.
Steps away. He's tried this a couple of times. This time he has to reach for it. And they think of two. Throw comes in early. They'll have to settle for one.
And down to Africa as well. I heard our co-commentator Corey talking about the Uganda story. They'll be one of the stories of the World Cup. I think Nepal will be one of the stories of the World Cup. And in reality, we've got nearly half of the teams taking part next month in the USA and the Caribbean are associates, 9 of the 20.
I think it's a major shift when you look at, I suppose, 50 over format kind of going to 10 teams and becoming a bit more, let's say, a bit more of an exclusive club to get there, even though some have been able to bang down the door, most recently the Netherlands, obviously, and having some success there. But I do think ICC, they've thought this is the vehicle to expand cricket. And the fact that you said 9 out of 20 is a big proportion. They're going to be winning some games.
Could well have been 10 as well for those I know are on the European Cricket Network here, for those who really enjoy the fantastic broadcast that you guys put together with the more than 1,000 matches per year. Italy really nearly upset Ireland up in Edinburgh. That was the T20 World Cup Europe qualifier. They went to the regional setup, and really the Dutch did everyone a favour by getting through automatically by beating South Africa on that final day of the group stages down in Adelaide.
Just lifted up over cover. Really first time I think O'Dowd's nailed one, and he's going to get the distance. Maximo from Marvellous Max, who moves into the 20s.
Yeah, this is a superb shot, it really is. He goes inside out very intentionally. He's hitting with the spin, I think, because I suspect it was the leg break, not the googly that Greaves will bowl an awful lot of. Yeah, it was indeed the leg break, so gives himself that little bit of room. Inside out, full extension of the arms, and goes all the way over towards that really impressive indoor centre. Vinny, I know you said it was your first time here to Voorburg. It's my first time as well. What's a venue?
It's amazing. And look, Netherlands, I obviously follow them very, very closely. I'm close with quite a few of the guys. This is their group campaign. Take on Nepal in their first game on the 4th of June, which really isn't too far away at all now. It's about just over 2 weeks away in Dallas, Texas. And then a rematch of Netherlands and South Africa. They've had some real World Cup battles recently. They take on Bangladesh in St Vincent and the Grenadines in the Caribbean, and then a night match against Sri Lanka in St Lucia. Of course, if they can get the top two, they'll go further into the Super 8s as we see Gavin Main switching ends now to the bottom end.
Yeah, for me, that's the group of death that we just saw on screen there. Group D, really, Nepal and Netherlands both very capable, I think, of beating higher ranked opposition. We've seen the Dutch do it time and time again. For Nepal, it's a matter of time before they do it. I think they will do it. In fact, in this tournament, they'll take a first ever win over a test nation. And South Africa, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. 3 really excellent teams who they'll all have claims to be taking one of the 2 automatic spots. So that group, of all of the groups, probably the most difficult. If you look at the Netherlands, I think they've got the most difficult travel as well. They play in 4 different venues. For Nepal, they've already sold out that game against the Netherlands. I don't think we're going to see too many orange shirts there. About 8,000 or 9,000 there in Texas. That's going to be a phenomenal occasion on the 4th of June, and then for them down to Florida and on to St Vincent. Really exciting times for the associate game.
Not quite the 4th of July, but 4th of June will also be pretty big. It's going to get first wicket of the series. Levitt backs away one time too many, and Main, well, he has been a bit of a stopper, and now he's a striker as he takes out the off stump of Levitt, and the Netherlands have lost their first wicket. It's 86 for 1.
Yeah, muted celebrations, Vinny. The reason why, they know they should have already had both Levitt and O'Dowd back in the hutch, but certainly a fine cameo, even if it's not going to be more than that from Levitt, who continues his good form, not just for the Netherlands, but also in the Pro Series. He gets cleaned up full straight, showed Gavin Main all 3 stumps, and Main was good enough to get it past that outside edge.
I think that wicket's turned me upside down because I said 86 for 1, but what I really meant was 68 for 1 here. So no need to panic, Scottish viewers. But Levitt, I mean, I suppose that's what you want from him at the top of the order. Isn't always going to go 50 plus or bang a ton, but he's got them off to a really good start, striking well as he departs. He scored 5 fours and a 6 in that innings as Scott Edwards, the captain, comes to the crease in the number 3 position. Scott's guy we know really well on the network, of course. He scored a ton in the first ever European Cricket League in 2019 for his club, VOC Rotterdam, his former club, VOC Rotterdam. Made the move to Kampong now this year. But I remember back then he had a few different nicknames. One of them was the Sweepologist because he really does love that shot. One of the others was the Creature, which I haven't heard him called for a while. Anyway, he's come a long way. He's come all the way, not only establishing himself in the side, but now leading the side.
Yeah, it's also very much a new role, I believe, for him in this T20I side. He's batting at number 3. He's only done that once before in his career. That was all the way. In fact, he's done it twice in 2021 and 2022, but he spent most of his time at 5 and 6.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. I mean, I tend to think of him in this format as someone you'd want kind of late in the innings where he has the license to be innovative almost from the get-go. But not to say there's not a place for that in the number 3 position. But yeah, obviously number 3 is probably a position where you'll come in the most different type of situations as well. I mean, you can come in up in the first over, you can come in the last over, or anything in between. You might not come in at all. But he's reunited with his good friend Max O'Dowd. He's facing up here. And Main, I've got to say, he's been right on the money so far.
It's kind of difficult to anticipate, particularly for these two teams, very much in contrary nature to Ireland, who've played so much T20I cricket over the last couple of years, and indeed in the build-up to the last T20 World Cup. They've had a real focus on that on the shortest format. For Scotland and the Netherlands, it's been a little bit more sporadic, a little bit more occasional, so it's hard to know their exact thoughts. I know that the Netherlands had a very successful tour of Kathmandu there and triumphed in that final over the hosts Nepal. That was their last T20I.
Main loses this one down the leg side, falls over in the follow-through as well.
But in that game there, Vikramjit Singh was at 3. And that's the left-hander bringing in that option. Sybran Engelbrecht was then at 4 and Edwards was down at 5. So I'm not sure what the thinking is. It's not like there's a spinner on now where they know they want to go sweeps and reverses. But maybe the captain just wants a bit more responsibility up the order.
Yeah, I suppose he's the captain. Get back where he likes. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised we don't see Vikram in the top 3. Just because it seems that both are suited to the other role. This is punched into the ground. And no doubt won't be able to get anything there. Main goes down again in the follow-through. And that's the end of 9 overs in the Netherlands. 70 for 1.
Yeah, Gavin Main spending more time, really. Main sprawled on the turf of this beautiful Vorburg Cricket Club ground. So impressed. Love the little windmill in the top right as well.
Love
or the
modern
windmill, I suppose.
No mistake, I had it in the opening shot of the series with the introduction, but it's very Dutch, isn't it? 70 for 1 after 9.
Here's the potential batting order. We don't know exactly where they'll go with this. I suppose one maybe slight Achilles heel of this side, bringing Daniel Dorham in for his debut in terms of T20I cricket. He did famously play some red ball cricket for the Netherlands a long time ago. The Irish side know all about him. 7 wickets he took as a 15-year-old, would you believe, 11 years ago. But the man from St. Martin back in to Dutch cricket. He played in 2023 domestically, and now he's playing for the national side in the orange for the first time in a T20I.
Oh, the first one is going to slide across. This is Michael Leask. There's a face that our ECN viewers will know very, very well. His first one, almost a lift of the foot. Almost being the word.
Well, maybe the 2 best associate glovemen there in that one shot, Vinny, because I don't think they come better than Matthew Cross or indeed the striker Scott Edwards. Both exceptional with their glove work. I know Cross put down a steepler. That was really about the wind as much as anything else. But this move of Edwards up the order, strike rates are more important than ever in this format of the game. You can't even really afford 2 or 3 fallow overs, 2 or 3 dry overs before coming under some real pressure. There is a bit of pressure already on Edwards.
Down, we'll just punch this down the ground. At least put a fair bit of pace on this ball. I last saw Michael playing for Team Europe in the Western Shield not too long ago. It was actually, he played the British and Irish Knights, I should say, against Team Europe. And that was an innovative series. Kind of worlds coming together. This is thick outside edge, at least not really looking to turn it here, just trying to kind of slide it in the right spots. There's Charlie Tier, excited to see him. He's just establishing himself in the side, isn't he? Good young player.
Yeah, another good keeper. He's in the outfield today.
Little edge, that's running away. And I think the ball's going to win the race. It'll be a streaky one, but it will be 4 runs to Edwards.
One of the things I love about the way in which Michael Leask plays his cricket, his heart is very much on his sleeve. It really is. You can see all the emotions here. He thought he should have at the back of the Dutch captain, and indeed if a first slip was in place, it would have been the end of Edwards. Instead, it's a streaky edge for 4. And maybe just a slight easing of that pressure that was building. You could sense it building. I know it sounds ridiculous in just 4 balls.
But you're right, everything does move quicker, doesn't it? And in fact, blink and you'll miss it. That's the end of the 10th over. So we're halfway through this innings. Just kind of pegging it back through the spinners since the end of the power play. And the score is 77 for 1 after 10. Let's welcome you into the commentary box for the first time. Vinny Sandy here, Mr. Maximo for ECN. And joining me is Andrew Leonard. Great to have you with us. And I got to say, I've really been enjoying the atmosphere so far. Players having a little bit of a drink to just kind of reflect on those first 10 overs. But really, these three teams, any one of them can beat each other. I love even cricket. I love the kind of dynamics in this tournament and the fact that anything's possible. Yeah,
one of the things I love about Netherlands, Scotland and Ireland, they all know each other so well, but the brilliance, the real brilliance of them as well. There's no English side here, so there's no top-tier sort of test nation. I know Ireland are a test nation. Ireland very much still an associate in my viewpoint. But give me a little number. None of these sides have ever been beaten by England in a full T20I. So this is for the European Championship between these three. That's what I reckon.
I'm glad you mentioned Ireland, because talk us through the Irish squad. We'll see them tomorrow for the first time. Who are you watching out for there?
Yeah, just the one change for them. Graham Hume couldn't get over a few visa issues, I believe, is what has been reported. So Fionn Hand, who's got a great sort of charismatic following, he's the only man here who's not in the potential provisional 15-man World Cup squad. He'll be looking to force his way in. He's a bit of a talisman as well. Keep your eyes on Barry McCarthy, who's had a really good little run of things as well. Ben White, the leg spinner's been going well. No Josh Little here either. He's out at the IPL. In fact, he's just on a plane on the way home today, but he won't come into this squad. I don't think so, unless Ireland decide to get him in at late notice. Lorcan Tucker captained Ireland for the first time just a few days ago, which went really well. I was there for the Ireland-Pakistan series. He's had back-to-back T20I 50s after a real difficult period where he was averaging, I think, about 5.5 against the full member nations in T20I cricket. George Dockrell, his power in the middle order. Mark Adair's got wonderful skills with the ball. And then the one big name I haven't mentioned, Harry Tector, who's probably in many ways across the three formats turning into Ireland's most consistent batter, although Andy Balbirnie had a hell of a good series as well against Pakistan.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix of kind of experience and youth in there, and I think it's an exciting time for Irish cricket. Obviously, they've kind of led the charge, I suppose, on behalf of European sides, kind of breaking in as a full member and playing Test cricket, and obviously the game moving forward at domestic level as well, the kind of professionalisation of it. It's pretty exciting work in progress.
For me as well, I think all of these three sides will consider themselves evenly matched. I don't think Ireland will in any way be arrogant coming over here and say, oh, well, we're playing against two associates, we'll just go and win these 4 games. They wouldn't expect that at all. They know how good Scotland and the Netherlands are, and I think likewise for the Dutch, the hosts here, and indeed for Scotland, who've got a very good record against Ireland. I think all sides, I don't think any side's going to go 4-0, and I don't think any side's going to go 0-4. Might be wrong, but that's just my thoughts.
No, I couldn't agree more. As this is made to bowl his 3rd over. A little bit of bat onto the pad there, I think. But get away with a single. Yeah, and I don't think Ireland will be arrogant at all. And obviously, cricket is a great leveler, isn't it? And you mentioned the fact that Italy almost kept them out of a World Cup not so long ago. So I know that they're pretty excited to get some of the sights and the sounds of the Netherlands. They'll be arriving today, I think.
Yeah, that was just 7 runs that Italy got past Ireland. Sorry, Ireland got past Italy by just 7 runs in Edinburgh.
And Italy were in a winning position towards the end.
Yeah, really were. 2 drop catches in the first innings too, really costly.
Nice change of pace there. Inside edge runs away, gets past the fielder. They'll get back for 2. Might be looking for 3 here. But a quick turn from the fielder, gets it in. Down moves to 26. What do you make of his innings so far?
Look, he's looked horribly out of touch, hasn't he, being honest? He's 26 off 24, which in the modern T20I game, opening the batting, you want to make as much use of those first 30 balls as you can. He's had that life. He was put down and catch that at international level you would expect to be taken. But certainly we know how good he is and we know how good he has been. He's just battling a bit for form. Looks an early season touch to me.
A straight pull this time, but he hits it straight to Curry, who's up in the circle. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, principally on ECN, we do 10 over cricket, and so he's in what we call the zone where you're looking maybe to make a strategic change. And I know it's something that has been done in some of the franchise leagues, occasionally international level. I think it's something that's going to come into the game a little bit more, because it seems criminal not to use your resources. That's the thing. But it's still kind of very non-traditional thinking, put it that way. Main comes in. This is nicely worked away from O'Dowd, but longer pockets of the field down there. Michael Jones does the fielding.
And Vinny, you can just see the body language there of Max O'Dowd. He knows he's not going well. He's not going to watch this back tonight and be upset by the fact we think he's not playing particularly fluently. He knows that himself. He looks out of touch, and there's an old saying, it's hit out or get out, and you might just, particularly with the depth of the Dutch batting and the power hitting that is to come, I think Engelbrecht's been a revelation since he's come to the international game. We know how good Vikramjit Singh can be as well. I think maybe he's got to really just either hit out or get out.
He's got the licence. His mate loses his bounce again in the follow-through. T20I Manura is someone as well, I think, brings a lot to the table. Guy who played a lot of good cricket in New Zealand. I remember having a chat with him when he just first come across, and obviously eligible to play for the Netherlands. And he's been a pretty consistent performer in the middle order for them as well.
Yeah, look, I suppose one of the things I always look at with the T20 team is balance, Vinny, and with no Roelof van der Merwe now, he's actually here helping coach the Dutch side. He's part of the sort of the fielding setup in the background. I think a lot of that balance goes. It kind of comes out of the side because van der Merwe, you know you're going to get your 4 overs from him, and you know you're going to get some very effective batting as well. Gets us to the end of the 11th, the score 83 for 1. These last 5 overs outside of the power play, they have all belonged to Scotland. 38 for 1 in this game. If anything, for me, I think it looks a good batting wicket. I think it's swinging towards Scotland.
It would appear that way. Obviously, Tri-Series here, if you just joined us. It's the first of 6 matches, kind of in 2 groups of 3, if you like. We'll have 3 matches, then we'll have a rest day on Tuesday, and then we'll have the second round of matches. 2 points for a win, 1 for a no result, but hopefully you don't have any of those because the weather could not be nicer. I totally get what you're saying as far as the post-power play kind of malaise, if you like. There was that Greaves over that went for 12, but apart from that, all 5, 6 or 7 as we start the 12th over.
And Vinny, you can feel it around the crowd. There's a malaise around the crowd. They know they're not going at the rate they need to. There was a brilliant atmosphere for those first 5 or 6. The runs were coming. But even the aggression out of the strokes is somewhat dissipated from the 2 Dutch batters.
Kind of figure, feels like something's got to give here at some point. Edwards will just get 1. And funny that you say, I feel like Scotland have kind of brought themselves back into the game as well, but the computer saying that they're kind of worse off than when they started, around the 60-40 against them at the moment.
But that's because of the scale of resources left. They still have 9 wickets in hand. Are they going to be able to make use of those 9 wickets that are in hand? At best now, a Nidamanoru or a Engelbrecht or a Vikramjit Singh is going to get 6, 7, 8 overs to bat. At best, they might not even get out there anytime soon. 60-40 it says to the Dutch. I'd flip that on its head. I think it's 60-40 Scotland.
Swing and a miss here and ask the question. Cross doesn't get the answer that he wanted. Again, that just kind of slid across. Scott Edwards, check out the replay thanks to Spring Media. Does look like that toe stays put behind the line. Still sharp work from the Gloveman.
Yeah, really good. But again, you can just see Edwards isn't a natural power hitter. This is the phase of an ODI where he's so brilliant. He's an accumulator. You just don't know where his boundary options are right now. Is he going to go to a reverse sweep potentially?
Well, right on cue, Andrew Lennon is just going to get over the fielder. There's two fielders waiting for that. I mean, obviously they know Edwards pretty well, so kind of guarding against that. He took it on anyway. Almost lost his wicket.
The reason you kind of knew he was going to go to the reverse sweep, where else is he going to hit? Because they're quite big square boundaries, 65, 68 metres. So you're taking a real risk trying to get it over one of their heads.
Now it's going to be a wicket, and it's Lees. And it's going to go straight through the gate of Max O'Dowd. And he hollers at the sky because Scotland have broken that partnership. And the Netherlands now 87 for 2.
Well, you cannot say it wasn't coming. You kind of predicted this coming. It was building and building and building. Firstly on O'Dowd and then on Edwards, and it ends up being O'Dowd that's paid the price. A nothing shot, really. Just a little bit of a flick. I'm not sure what he was trying to do. Maybe work it for 1 or 2. Have to say Michael Lees has deserved that. He really has. He's bowled very nicely. He's got that angle around the wicket. And O'Dowd's somewhat tortured stay at the crease ends. He'll have better days ahead. And the Dutch, they've lost their second.
Well, Lees will finish his second over there, 12 down, and Netherlands 87 for 2. Frustration for Max O'Dowd, but just the 1-4, 1-6 runner ball 30 wasn't quite what he was hoping for. And For Leask, I think it's good reward. He hasn't really bowled a bad ball in his first 2 overs. He's got figures of 1 for 11. One door closes, another opens, though, as Vikram Jit Singh comes to the crease at number 4.
There's almost a deathly silence across the ground, somewhat surreal. Very partisan home crowd here. Plenty of orange shirts in the crowd too. And you would suspect that they know their cricket. They're very learned about their cricket here, not just in Den Haag and Amsterdam. And right across the country, it's growing ever more so, but they're in trouble right now because of that 30 off 30, and Edwards, exact same strike rate, 11 off 11. It means that there's real pressure on Vikramjit Singh to go from ball 1. Another change of bowling, Brad Curry back into the attack.
Steps away from this one, Edwards, but just punches it for 1. And interesting, they go back to the left armour at this stage. It has been working well, but obviously just kind of managing the spells. Also, you have a lot of captains saying, oh, we don't want to bowl too much of one in a row. We want to kind of keep mixing it up, changing the rhythm of the game. And I do think that Curry bowled pretty well earlier. Interesting to see if he does get any movement with this slightly older ball. And interesting what you said also about the batters to come, but I suppose if they come in too late, it's putting additional pressure on them to fire, which isn't particularly easy. Interesting, Netherlands have come back to exactly where they started now, 55% favourites.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me has been the lack of Engelbrecht thus far. I know he's still early in his international career, despite being 35.
Vikram is just going to chop down on this and get a single.
But I thought he played brilliantly out in Kathmandu. He was predominantly batting at number 3. I think he once played at number 4 as well. But they sent him in to come in at that point, and there was a strike rate about 157. That's good numbers. Max O'Dowd, career strike rate 120. Scott Edwards in this format, not altogether more than that either. So the pressure's being built up, and Scotland deserve credit for doing so.
Edwards can't get this past the ball. It almost creates a run. It would have been out. Another missed opportunity for Scotland, as Vikram could have been gone after only facing 1 ball.
And this guy, Brad Curry, is as good a fielder as we have in the associate game. You can stick him in alongside the likes of CJ Amini of Papua New Guinea, Dipendra Singh Airi of Nepal. He is lightning. He's created that chance from nowhere. The only thing he didn't do was hit the stumps, and he probably had, what, 2.5 to aim at.
Yeah, probably had more time than he thought there as well. Did Curry. No harm, no foul. Fraction short. This will go to one of those kind of longer pockets, and you're right about that. About Edwards just doesn't want to take on an outfield at this stage. Also, they had the deep fine leg back to him. Obviously, they know that he'd like to kind of get out of jail if they have the fine leg up with a little bit of a dinky shot. But you know, right now, getting this kind of like a flat middle overs. I feel like someone needs to break the game open for the Netherlands. This field will allow a run. Vikram.
Yeah, and from a high of, I think it was about 8.8 per over at one point, maybe a little bit more than that. They're dropping right the way down towards 7 runs per over. Just a bit more on Curry as an athlete and as a fielder. Scotland haven't played much T20I cricket of late, but at the qualifier last year that the Dutch didn't have to go to because they'd secured their return to a T20 World Cup automatically by getting into the top 8 positions.
This one's lifted up in the air. Fielder is going to take it. Took a little while to see it, but Edwards in an innings that he won't be hanging up on the mantelpiece as Curry gets a reward for, I think, a pretty good 3 overs. He'll have 1 for 16, and after 13, the Netherlands have lost their captain. It's 91 for 3.
Yeah, just like Michael Leask deserved his wicket, now too Brad Curry gets his just reward. Wasn't the most convincing catch from Michael Jones out at deep backward square. And almost in copycat fashion to what we saw from O'Dowd. You could see the frustration at the lack of runs coming. And it means that Edwards, he's fallen for a very similar number. He's gone, in fact, at less than a run a ball.
And lucky for some, 13 off 15 for the captain. So kind of experiment to put him up at first drop doesn't really work out. It's also clever bowling, I think, if you're confident that the sideways boundaries, the square boundaries are big enough, you can dig the ball in and basically put it in the batter's court and say, hey, do you want to try and hit a 6 or not? If you don't quite get it right, you might have your wicket, and that's pretty much exactly how it works out. And Jones, it just took a second there to see it, didn't he? I think maybe the sun's a little bit of a factor at this time of the day. It is kind of late-ish in the afternoon, I suppose, but he holds on to it in the end.
A really nice scheduling from the KNCB to get these games at 5 p.m. So you can really guarantee maximum attendance. There must be, what, 500 or 600 in and around Warburg, and they'll be back into action again tomorrow. That'll be Ireland's first game in the series. Leask is going to continue.
Again, right on the money, and does well to field this off his own bowling to prevent any run. That's one of the nice things about the Netherlands as well, compared to some countries that we broadcast a lot of cricket from, like Spain or Germany or Sweden. Yeah, the distances are kind of more reasonable to kind of travel and to catch a cricket match, play a cricket match. First one, he's kind of taken the pace off in a while that time, and Vikram will get a single. And here is Engelbrecht. You talked about him. You said that he's obviously been striking the ball well. He gets his opportunity now with about 7 overs to play.
Yeah, he's a gun player. He really has had a remarkable story. He went away from cricket entirely, having played an under-19 World Cup for South Africa. Works a very good level of job here, and amazing that he's been able to balance that without being able to be a full-time cricketer, to be so good at the 50-over World Cup. And now to travel to a T20 World Cup next month. He's very fit, very athletic, and you'll see that athleticism here. He wanted the second, but Vikramjit Singh, he says no. Our supercomputer is starting to agree with us. Scotland now favourites.
Seesaws finally tipped the other way, but what it does tell you is we've got a really good contest on, and who's to say how Scotland are going to hit them when they take on this chase in the second innings. No Muncie, of course, for them. It's a big name out. But Leask, he's just been putting it in difficult areas to attack unless you're going to take a huge risk, and so far the Dutch batters haven't really looked like they've wanted to do that to him. It's got a bit of width. First one in a while that Leask has kind of straight, and it's going to cost him 4. Nice shot by Vikram. Carves it away behind point.
Yeah, and finally the Dutch crowd was something to cheer. That's the first boundary in a long, long time. And you'd have to say, really, the way in which Leask has bowled hasn't allowed too many opportunities. He had an old habit of bowling one really shocking ball each over, but this time just a little bit too short and wide. He's put that away a little bit of late. And Vikramjit Singh just gets something for the Dutch crowd to get behind.
Leask goes a little bit straighter this time. A long chase for the deep backward square, and he's going to hurl himself at it, but he won't reel it in. Back-to-back boundaries. Maybe something brewing here for the Netherlands, who've crept back ahead in this contest. The 100 comes up as well. So Leask bowls a good 3, but doesn't end the way that he wanted. It's 101 for 3 after 14.
Yeah, much more like it for the Netherlands. Actually felt that those 2 wickets, I know it sounds a little strange, might play in their favour, because you're going to get 2 much more naturally aggressive players to the crease in the shape of Singh and Engelbrecht. And those back-to-back boundaries just give the Dutch something to cheer. But for the Scots, what have they got to look forward to? Well, it's a clash with the old enemy. I think the ICC, I know they occasionally get criticised for the way in which they manipulate the schedules. I think it's the perfect thing to do. You want to see India, Pakistan. You want to see Australia, New Zealand. You want to see games like Scotland against England. I think it's a really good move. We've got so much to look forward to for that T20 World Cup that's coming up. And one of the things that you've got to remember, Vinny, as well, it's not just across 2 countries in terms of the USA and the Caribbean. I think it's 8 different venues in the Caribbean alone. So you're talking about 7 or 8 different jurisdictions, visas, all sorts of difficulties to put it all together. Biggest and best World Cup. It's coming to us next month.
You have to bring a special pocket in your bag for the red tape, I think, when you're trying to organise a World Cup around the West Indies. Anyway, here's Engelbrecht. He's going to go down the ground. And what a very experienced campaigner. Again, the spinners, I think, for the most part, they've been the catalyst for this little flat spot, I think, because they haven't been giving the Dutch too much to hit.
Yeah, I really like the way as well Richie Barrington has grown into the captaincy. I actually don't think it came particularly naturally to him at first.
This one back slightly, but he'll get a single.
He'd been incredibly comfortable being the deputy to Kyle Coetzer, who was such a fantastic captain. And that kind of came a bit more naturally to Kyle as a leader. But Richie Barrington, you can almost see him over the last 6 to 9 months just starting to grow into the role, starting to feel as though he really belongs in the role. There's that 25-yarder from Watt. Gets squeezed away for a single. And I think he's captained really nicely here. He's varied things. He hasn't panicked despite those couple of drop catches that they put down in the first 7 overs. And he's still such a good fielder, even though he's now 37 years of age.
Yeah, age is but a number. What goes over the wicket to the lefty? This one won't even escape the infield. Yeah, it's I'm really excited for Scotland and England, of course. I have a bit of Scottish heritage as well, so I felt a little burst of pride when they beat England on their home turf in a memorable game. He takes this on, and I think he's going to win. That's into the crowd. Maximal for Vikram. He's come out striking ball nicely. You can already see the difference he's made as Watt kind of rolls the dice, putting one slightly above the eye line. He pays the price out of the ground.
I think the Dutch have to look at this order. I'm not sure what the brains trust came together with putting Scotty Edwards at 3. Gotta be Vikramjit Singh at 3, doesn't it? The left-hander, he's stylish. He's very dynamic, and a lovely start from him. Gets us to the end of the 15th. It's on to a Nelson now, 111 for 3. Big last 5 incoming, Vinny.
Yeah, I suppose you need to find a mixture of kind of playing what you think your best combination is, but then also kind of contingencies. I suppose no one ever knows what's going to happen in a World Cup campaign. Injuries, form, miscellaneous, they can all strike. So I think you'll probably see teams trying a few things this week, but also kind of keeping to the skeleton of what they think their lineup and their tactics are going to look like.
Looks like it's going to be Nidamanoru and Van Beek in probably at 6 and 7 to provide that late impetus that the Dutch will need. I think they want 160 plus. That's what Scotty Edwards said at the toss, despite it still very much being the early spring, summer sort of vibes, mid-May here now. It's after what was heavy rain last night, feeling much more like summer now. 160, 165, will it be enough? Maybe not. They'll need 10 and over or so to get there, but they'll have a bit of extra pace on the ball as Chris Sole comes back into the attack now.
Fairly defensively played first up for a single.
Yeah, just going back to that Group B, we've spoken extensively there about Group D in the T20 World Cup next month. For Scotland, for Oman and for Namibia, I think it's golden opportunities. I'll tell you why. Okay, Australia, reigning world champions in the ODI format. England, reigning world champions in the T20 format. But I think they're just golden opportunities. And what's more, the way the fixtures have fallen, particularly somebody like a Namibia, I think they get to play England in Antigua where it will spin. Bernard Scholz, a very good operator. Gerard Erasmus has had a wonderful time of things with the ball in recent times. I think there's an upset brewing in that Group B.
A little bit short, takes on the pull shot, and he nails it. Maximal! One of the biggest hits we've seen so far. Vikram, no matter where you bat him, he's a dangerous player. He puts that one up and out of the ground.
And the home crowd are loving it now, all the way out to that fantastic indoor net facility. Across to the leg side for the left-hander, dug in, extra pace from Sole. First match for him for about 4 months. He's had a couple of horrible injuries after what was a real burst onto the international scene at that Cricket World Cup qualifier last year. Clocked it over 150 kilometres an hour. Don't think he's quite at that pace today, but still plenty of pace on the ball for Singh to cash in upon.
This time a shortish again, punched in front of point. That's going to be a long chase with the fielder, but he does well to cut it off. You can see he's kind of set up fairly open, isn't he, here, Vikram, with that round-the-wicket tactic from Sole. So he's not too worried about his stumps or LBW or anything like that. And kind of opens up both sides of the wicket against that length delivery. I'll tell you something that I like about some of these, I suppose, underdogs, if you like, in the World Cup, is they don't have to win the Cup to make history for their country. And the World Cup in the 20 over or the 50 over format is littered with these stories, these memorable matches, a one-off match even. As this is lifted away, it's all hands. Fielder comes around, but he's going to have to watch it. And there's another boundary. We'll check on whether it's 4 or 6, but Vikram got a little bit lucky, perhaps, that the fielder didn't judge it straight away, looking into the sun. But the Netherlands will get another boundary.
Well, incredible reactions here from not just 1 or 2 of the Scotland players, but plenty of them. They can't believe what Greaves has done here. He's come in, he's run around it, and it's ended up bouncing inside the rope. I think if he was exactly where Scotland wanted him to be positioned, it would have been a simple catch. Mark Watt had his arms extended. Even Brad Curry there at point and Ollie Hares at short third. They couldn't quite understand how that wasn't a chance. So instead of it being the 4th wicket, it's 4 more runs to the total.
Flat bats this down the ground, should just be a single. Yeah, I've got to say I was a little bit confused as well. I think it's just a classic misjudgment. I think the way he hit it, he didn't really go after it. He just kind of timed it, kind of threw the hands at it, and the fielder kind of zigged when he had to zag.
He's ended up running around it as well, Vinny, because I think he's gone initially, his movement was to the left, and then he's come around the ball, and he's ended up actually not getting in any way even a chance on it, even to try and save the 4 in the end. I don't think it was the particularly greatest piece of fielding I've seen, and not for the first time this inning. Scotland, to me, they look rusty.
Yeah, despite them being competitive on the scoreline, it's been littered with missed opportunities, really. Fraction short, mid-off up in the circle will have a pop. They'll get through for a single end of the over. And the Netherlands 126 for 3 off 16 overs, 4 overs remaining here. Salt 34 off his 3, still has 1 to spend. Interesting to see where they go with the 5 bowlers or where they perhaps look for another option. Big thanks to Andrew Leonard for his stint in the commentary box. Joined now back by our resident Dutchman in a way, Corey Ruckers, and 4 overs to go. How do you see things at the moment?
Yeah, really good counterpunch from Vikramjit Singh. The Scots, they just got Scotty Edwards a little bit stuck today. They were dotting it up in that middle period, but Vikram has come out. He's timed the ball beautifully, some lovely shots, and while that platform's there for a big finish, if they can go at 10s or 11s, we're looking at a score in the 160s, 170s, and that's what we think is par today.
Watt is going to come back to bowl his final over. He's hit down the ground. Really nailed. Should get it very comfortable too as Curry takes it to his non-preferred side.
Well, we were talking about the parameters. A straight hit here is a good 68, 70 plus. So if you don't get it out the middle, the 2s are definitely on. Engelbrecht.
Off the bat, it's 80 to the rope.
Yeah.
From where you stand, 79. And so it means there's also going to be a lot of 2s down the ground with those outfielders being slightly deeper. Talk us through what your take was on Scott Edwards at 3 rather than batting Vikram in the top 3.
I think maybe they realised the pitch was maybe a little bit slower than what they anticipated. And Scott's usually the man that comes out when the spinners are on in the middle, extremely good run in between the wickets, and has a lot of different sweep shots, a lot of variety. Wasn't his day today, but Vikramjit Singh, so far it has been. Oh,
Lifted up over the top, and that's flying into the stands. Maximal! Vikramjit Singh has come out, he's totally swung this innings around.
Wow, shot of the day for me. Inside out, over extra cover, beautiful timing. That is 75, 80 metres. That's shot of the day, Vinny, by a long way. He's 37 off 16 on a wicket where some players haven't been able to get going. Impact innings, impact player. And with 3.3 overs left, there's good scores on the cards here.
Quick one from Watt. Jams up Vikram. Slight misfield. They're going to get back with 2 for 2 easily in the end.
I did hear our co-commentator Andrew Leonard just talking about how the Scots have just a little few mistakes here, uncharacteristic from them. That's a 2 that should never be a 2. It's a beautiful outfield here. Just a little bit of a bobble, and the Dutch capitalise. So they'll want a clean finish to the end here. They don't want to be chasing plus 180.
This is hit down the ground. And Leask will take the catch, a metre to spare. And Vikram's cameo comes to an end, 39 off 18. Just didn't quite get the distance there. We talked about the fact they are very long boundaries down the ground. Leask makes sure this opportunity doesn't go begging. And the Netherlands lose the 4th, 137 for 4.
Yeah, on another day, that could easily have been another 6. Vikramjit Singh's timed everything, but good adjustment from Leask. He was a little bit in off the rope, had to catch it on 1 foot in the end, but it's an important wicket. What gets the breakthrough? Well, it does give someone else an opportunity coming out down at number 6. Teja Nidamanuru will come in to close this one out.
Not a bad time for Teja to come in, but Vikram, he looks in very good form. Not everyone has, let's be honest, for the Netherlands so far in this first innings. But he very much entertained the hundreds of spectators here at the VCC ground.
Yeah, good crowds rolled out, hasn't it? I think plus 1,000 now have turned up on this Saturday afternoon sun. And well, we've got another game 5 p.m. tomorrow. The Irish will be out here as well. So if anyone is listening, come 5 p.m. tomorrow, VCC. It'd be great to have more fans turn up. First internationals on Dutch soil in quite some time for the men's.
Just didn't quite get it out of the screws. Not too far away. At least did well. Kind of conscious that he had a little bit of room to work with. The teacher Nidamanuru comes out. I'm going to say, we're a little bit distracted here. We'll probably come as to why in a moment. But anyway, last ball for Watt. A very good spell. He's going to finish with 1 for 35, as they'll settle for 1 here. Nidamanuru off the mark, keeps the strike, and it's 138 for 4 after 17. But I've got to say, the American flag's out already, and that's not because of the World Cup, it's because that's where the food station is.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I know I had a nice 10-over break there, Vinny. I did walk over to that vicinity, and yeah, very nice indeed.
Well, let's welcome you into the box. Vinny Sandu here, Mr. Maximo for ECN. Great to have Corey Ruckers with me in, it's not quite a cube, but it's not far off. It's a little bit of a pyramid at the top as well. We're still finding our, just kind of finding our home here, aren't we? But it's nice to be surrounded by a lot of cricket lovers.
A lot of cricket lovers, a lot of people. I was just over there in the crowd section actually during my little break, and a lot of people have driven over from Paris. A lot of people have come from Dusseldorf in Germany. People want to come and watch good cricket, and here it is at VCC Vorburg.
Happy to see so many familiar faces around the ground as well. So looking forward to catching up with a few of them after the game. But right now, let's get back out into the middle, because it looks like we're ready to start the 18th over. And it's going to be Gavin Main to bowl it. He goes to the back of the hand first up, and it only just misses the off stump.
Oh, on another day, that could have been Tim Butt. Back of the hand slow ball into Manuru. Doesn't really pick it, doesn't read it. It goes underground, actually. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that slow ball, one of the easier ones to pick, but it doesn't make it easy to hit if it's well located. That's the thing.
And with big boundaries, Vinny, timing a back of the hand slow ball 80 metres is not easy.
Exactly. Not giving you too much to work with. Driven, but won't beat the mid-off. What do you think about the mid-off up in the circle at this stage? They've chosen to go for a fine leg instead.
These days, I think a lot of teams like to have that fine leg hanging back because they just want to say to these players, look, I've still got the short ball, but nearly every player on the circuit these days, Vinny, they can ramp.
Yeah.
Every single player these days, if you aren't brought up with the ramp or you don't have the ramp, it's hard to get into a national squad. So fine leg back, mid-off in the ring, I like it from the Scots, especially if you're going to bowl some pace-off deliveries into the wicket.
Yeah. Also can protect against those ledges as well. This is just flicked away by Engelbrecht, but he's going to be gone. No, Scotland have started catching as Engelbrecht never really able to get going in his innings. Main will have a second wicket, and the Netherlands 139 for 5.
Oh, you'll be disappointed with that. He actually got a fair piece of it, clipped away through backward square leg, but a nice, safe catch. Another wicket goes, and Scotland, you're right, just building into this in the field with their momentum, their energy. And yeah, it wasn't the most conventional dismissal, but a wicket's a wicket.
That was well judged that time, as opposed to some that we have seen. The fielders taking a little bit of time to kind of judge the flight of the ball. But that was an excellent catch, and Brad Curry, the man out there, takes it just above the turf. So Netherlands, I suppose, in an okay position here. We said 150, 160 when they look on for that, don't they, at the moment? They're 139 for 5, 2.5 overs to go. Cracking game.
I think we're on for a corker of a game. Least still has an over in his hands. Sol and Curry, I think you expect to see those two end this innings. I think Netherlands wouldn't want to waste the position they've got themselves into. Logan van Beek's made his way out to the middle. He's no mug with the bat. He can hit such a long ball. If he gets going, look out. But can Scotland sort of stem the tide a bit?
No time to waste, really. Just 15 deliveries remaining in this first innings. That's well bowled. Jammed up in the block hole.
Oh, no ball, Vinny. Front foot, no ball called straight away. And they're going to get an extra run with this throw. And that's sort of the sloppiness that they'll be disappointed, Scotland. So a misfield with the throw in. Overstep front foot. We're going to get a free hit now.
Yeah, let's have a look at this one. Just overstriding. And I mean just. Looks like the heel's on the line. There's nothing behind. Also, burglary in the first degree to pinch a second run. Then it's amazing how quick batters like to get back on strike when they hear the no ball call, because there's a freebie coming up Van Beek.
Yeah, we like to call it the old immunity cloak, isn't it? Chance your arm, have some fun.
Sound the horn. May go pace off here perhaps. Does, he bowls him. They look for a run. There'll have to be a pretty powerful throw to knock a stump out from there. I feel like I've brought a little bit of the European Cricket Series Estonia with me in the last couple of minutes there. We had the crazy overthrow, had the no ball, almost a bye off the stumps.
I think it's in those bright suits. Wherever you go, Vinny, you bring a little bit of chaos, don't you?
We've been missing you on the European Cricket
Series
tour.
I've enjoyed my little bit of a siesta.
Haven't we? Turned up for a couple of nights of pasta in Italy and that was it. Anyway.
Well, we do get around. It is good to bring you this sort of level of cricket, though. Really enjoy this. Love how many fans have turned up to this.
Here's Main. 2 balls to go in his spell. He's been tight. Just run a ball pace. He's really been locating that back of the hand slower ball. Going to run hard, though. And they're going to get 2, so that's good running from the Netherlands.
This is definitely something that they pride themselves on, the Netherlands, running hard between the wickets, something that helped them in the 50 over ICC qualifier in Zimbabwe a year ago. And these two teams, the last time they played, Vinny, the Dutch actually chased a score in 43 overs to win that last 50 over World Cup spot. So there'd be a little bit of payback here. The Scots would love to start the series with a win.
I wonder if Main goes back to that again, because it seems to be a tactic that's working for him. At least hasn't gone to the boundary with it. It goes pace on, kind of overcooks it. It's well done by Cross down the leg side to stop it going for any more.
Yeah, Cross has been good, hasn't he? Very cleaned out. I know you're a keeper yourself. He's just looked fantastic the whole time.
Honestly, Cross is a guy for a decade. I've admired his work. I remember when he was also kind of in the English first-class system. But just, he's like a keeper's keeper, Cross. You know, and okay, there's that high one. That could happen to anyone. I mean, that high ball that he dropped, you had to be here to see how high it was. And it's a kind of swirly day, but I've loved his work up to the stumps as well as back. Main to finish his spell. He goes to the back of the hand. And yeah, with Main, he does seem to fall over a lot in his follow-through. They're going to go for 2 here. And that looks pretty close to me.
Well, he's been given straight away, Vinny. So great work again from Cross. You've told me a lot about his keeping. Brilliant fielding as well. Van Beek went for a bit of a risky 2. He desperately wanted, but he's going to be short.
Still resources in the shed, so I can understand that you're pushing for every run. Van Beek's not the kind of guy you want to lose, because this is so well suited him, the situation. I say it was a good throw. It was a quick throw and it was a low throw. It's a bit of a skipper. And so you notice the position of Cross, and it's a good call by the umpire, I've got to say. It's just out. Sends the middle stump cartwheeling. But he kind of positions himself kind of in between the stumps and the throw, but the throw kind of went straight into his gloves, and that kind of the follow-through, if you like, the give of his gloves goes straight in the middle stumps, and he's able to take it out just in time. So Van Beek is run out for 5, and the Netherlands are 146 for 6.
Sort of understand that from Van Beek as well, because Nidamannuru's back on strike. So sort of understand that, maybe thinking, look, go for it. If we get the 2, great. If he falls short, you still got the main man on strike. Arian Dutt now has come out at an important time with 12 balls remaining. If he can play a little cameo, which he's definitely improved a lot with his batting in the last few years, maybe that 165 is still on. Looks like they're going to go back to Curry, who's bowled very well so far. 1 for 16 off his 3 overs. Easily could have had a couple more early in this innings.
Yeah, I've liked Curry here. Kind of set the standard with his accuracy in the first over. Has to reach for this first one. They have run pretty well in the last couple of overs. Netherlands probably pushed it a step too far. Obviously, Arian Dutt's a pretty interesting player to watch as well. He's a different kind of spinner, isn't he?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Arian Dutt, and we're going to talk a lot about his spin later. Expect him to open the bowling, but his batting is coming on and on and on. I know he's moved his local cricket this year. He's playing out at Hermes CC, where he's batting at number 3 now for his top class side. So. Right. Improving a lot. I know there was a few 50-over cameos. I think he put Rabada over the fence a couple of times. He's got an opportunity here. If he can click, maybe a big finish.
That's the next one. Doesn't get past the bowler. Just kind of feeling for that one. Yeah, that run out. Let's just hit one more time. It was very clever work. Firstly from the fielder to kind of spot the keeper's position.
Just skipped it on the turf as well, didn't he? Just skipped it on beautifully. And yeah, great work from Cross, the keeper.
Last ball of the 18th over then. This is punched away. That won't be into over number 19 now. And just a single. So, yeah, the Netherlands are just kind of losing a few wickets. I kind of think, where would they be without that innings of Vikram? I mean, he's made the difference, I think, of putting a par total on to something quite short of it.
Yeah, it was a special little innings from him, wasn't it? Came out and striking at 217. So Nidamanuru on strike. He's become a bit of a finisher for the Netherlands the last few years.
Steps across, hits it down the ground again. They want 2 here. Dutt was backing up, has a think, has a look, decides to go for it, and will be 2 more to the total.
Yeah, that brings up the 150. So 150 up, 8 balls to go. I think Netherlands will be pretty happy with that. I think Scotland will be happy as well. I reckon we've got a very interesting evening play here, Vinny. At the moment, the supercomputer saying 56-44 for me. This is a genuine 50-50.
Lenny was saying that Scotland were probably a bit more competitive than that suggests.
So 2 balls left in Curry's spell. He's been exceptional today. Swung the ball early in his spell, Vinny. Later, he's been bowling these off-cutters wide, making the batsman reach.
Goes full, but too full, and that's lifted up and out of the ground. Maximo to Tija as the Netherlands search for late runs, and the crowd enjoyed that one.
Yeah, well, he has become this bit of a finisher for the Netherlands last few years. He goes pace on, tries to nail the Yorker. It's a game of margins, isn't it? Just overcooks it a little bit. Nidamanuru isn't going to miss out. 6 more vital runs. 156. Oh, boy. This is going to be a great evening.
It's a really good shot. It's not an easy ball to set up from. We mentioned it. One of the longer boundaries on the ground. So Curry, still being a pretty good performer. Catching a run out and fairly decent spell from him. 1 for 26 plus this. Again, I wonder if he goes back to that full ball, tries to nail the Yorker this time, or whether he kind of goes that slower kind of cutter. Decisions to be made. He's only got 1 ball to bowl. And as they say in T20 international cricket, it all happens in the 19th. Here's the last ball. Tries to get funky and does get it past the keeper. He might want 2 there, probably not on. It's a bit slow on the turn there, Nidamanuru, but he will retain the strike, so maybe not such a bad thing. Curry is finished with his 4 overs, 1 for 27, his figures, 157 for 6 with an over remaining.
Yeah, looking at that supercomputer, Vinny, and obviously with 1 over to go, it does sort of feel, I don't think it's Dutch 61%. I do think it's genuine 50-50. I think the bowling performance has been pretty impressive. Well, overall, Bradley Curry stands out for me. 1 for 27, obviously. Leask as well with his right arm off spin, 1 for 21. I imagine it would be Sol to finish.
A bit surprised that Leask only gets 3.
Look, sometimes the captain out there, Barrington, sometimes it just works out in different ways, and some players might get an over just to have the get out over, and you have 5 main bowlers. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, so to speak.
Good to have options, I guess.
It is.
I suppose the other thing is Leask's last over that he did bowl, didn't finish with back-to-back boundaries, maybe cost him a chance of a 4th straight away.
Yeah, so it will be Chris Sol to finish up from the old paddock end. 6 balls remaining in this first innings.
Shake, rattle and roll, over 20. Nidamanuru will want to here, but it just goes to the fielder too quickly. Okay, so tell me, because I'm new to this ground, I know you've been here many, many times, so what do you call the ends here? What's the windmill end?
Well, we'll call that the windmill end,
okay, good.
if you like. Windmill end and commentary box end.
Is this a canal?
Well,
is that big enough to
honestly,
be a canal?
if we go to 20 different grounds in Holland, there's canals everywhere.
Yeah.
There'll be a couple of Kookaburra turfs lost in the water this week, and I tell you what, they're pretty expensive, those. I might be going for a bit of a dip and a dive later.
Those who were watching last week in the European Cricket Series know exactly about that. Short kind of ties up Dutt. Not sure there's any bat on this one. Scramble through. It's a little bit of bat according to the umpire. No. Yeah, that one does look like it's done a bit of damage. Tarian Dutt.
Oh, a little bit of a worry here, because it might have collected him on that sort of forearm, and if it's on his right arm, depends how quickly he got through this pull stroke. Yeah, that might be on the forearm of the right arm, and I tell you what, Arian Dutt's their opening bowler, right arm off spin, so I hope he's okay. That stings, because Sol ain't slow.
You could see the deflection there, couldn't you? Anyway, Tija gets the strike back. And he's going to lift this one up. It's going, and it's gone. Maximo! 6 runs, Nidamanuru playing his role to perfection.
Yeah, they call him the finisher for a reason. He's done this multiple times for the Netherlands in the last few years. And lovely pick-up sort of shot for 6. Just erring in line, a little bit too straight. Pace off, but he read it perfectly and lobbed it over the leg side.
Gave him length to work with there, didn't he? Sol, he has been a little expensive, hasn't he? He's up in the 40s now. 3 balls remaining. How high can the hosts climb? And he's going to be bowled. So backing away, taking a little bit of a chance. Credit to Sol, who gets it on target. He's got a wicket for his trouble. And the Netherlands with 2 balls remaining, 165 for 7.
Yeah, just cramped him a little bit. Nidamanuru backing away, wanting to go over mid-off, who was in the ring, just hitting the top of leg stump. So important wicket, because you don't want Nidamanuru to face the last couple of deliveries. Just angling in, bit of a rolling leg cutter. does him all ends up. So a bit of frustration there for Tasia, but a good little cameo nonetheless.
That's his role, isn't it? Can come in 5-6, depending on the match situation. He's going to have to go for pretty well compiled 19, including a couple of sixes in there.
It looks like Paul Van Meekeren has made his way out to the middle now. Tall right arm seam bowler, not well known for his batting, but can hit the long ball when it's out the middle. 2 balls remaining in this very interesting first innings. A bit topsy-turvy this inning so far. I think both teams, when they hit the sheds, will be pretty confident of what they've done so far.
He's probably kicking himself a little bit there, TJ, because if he'd gone the other way, it's probably kind of ball he could have picked up over the leg side. Anyway, Van Meekeren, no time to waste, just 2 balls remaining. He's going to get bowled, so we're going to have a hat-trick opportunity. And Van Meekeren isn't going to stick around.
It's a funny thing. With the mid-off up, Vinny, I think some players want to back away so they can try and get it over the offside and over mid-off. But, well, if you get cramped for room, he's going to hit the top of leg stump and really clever bowling on a hat-trick.
Hat-trick opportunity. Never a better ball to have at a hat-trick than the last ball of the innings.
Yeah, and it's going to be to a man on international T20I debut.
And welcome, Derek, to T20 international cricket. Do you reckon we can get Derek on the plane?
There it is. Derek the Duck, welcome to T20I debut.
This score, even though there were kind of underwhelming periods, has now climbed actually the highest ever total in a T20 international at this ground. It goes past Scotland's 162 against Bangladesh. That was 12 years ago. This is the 8th match at this venue.
Yeah, many moons ago. Daniel Durham, I don't know if many people have heard much about this man, but he is a tall left-arm off-spinner. Really looking forward to watching him bowl later.
Cannot wait to see him bowl. Right now, we'll see what he's got with the stick. Welcome to international cricket. Here's a hat-trick ball. Here's the last ball. It's going to be a 1-ball innings no matter what, which is what most people's idea of a debut. It's a nightmare on debut. Anyway, 165 plus this for the Dutch. It won't be a hat-trick. They'll get 1. They've got to try for 2. It'll probably take him about 4 steps to get back. And he'll get there. So the Netherlands, 167 for 8. They kind of used 10 batters in there. It wasn't always pretty, but pretty effective. They've got the runs on the board in match 1.
Game on, Vinny, game on. I think this is a genuine 50-50 as we go into the second half. Credit to Vikramjit Singh. He was the standout batter for me. And for the Scots, I think Brad Curry with the ball really well bowled. What was effective well, and Leask also with his right arm off spin. A good contest. Great game to call. Tough to tell who's ahead.
Exactly right. And remember that the Netherlands, they were sent in, so they were asked to bat. No one probably really knows what a pass score is. Talking kind of 150, 160. The way the pitch played, I'd say that's probably about right. But it was kind of a case of the haves and have-nots, I think, of from the Netherlands batters that we saw out there. Let's go and have a look at some of the highlights here of the first innings. Over this 20 overs, we saw Levitt very good early. Not so much from O'Dowd, who was living a chancy life out there, almost run out, dropped a couple of times. Never really timed the ball, though, did he, Max? But no such problems for Levitt at the top. He's in some form.
Yeah, he's in some serious touch. 43 of 31 for him. A little bit of luck on the way. 5 fours and a 6. Max O'Dowd as well looked pretty comfortable against spinning. Made a very effective 30 of 30 before he was dismissed, bowled by Leask. That was the first one, though. Gavin Main got it in the right areas. Levitt, a little bit over-adventurous. He had to go.
Yeah, but it gave them a good platform, didn't it? And I think, you know, without a couple of those key contributions, I think Levitt and Vikram, I think that Netherlands were going to be caught a little bit short. But I also thought that Scotland, they fought back really well through the spin in the middle overs. They were pretty accurate. They weren't really giving a lot of hit-me balls. And so you could kind of really feel that in those overs kind of between 6 and 12, that the Dutch were just kind of caught a little bit flat-footed, maybe not willing to take the game on. When they did, they tended to lose their wicket. Vikram came out, though. He played some sort of a knock, the left-hander, looking in fine touch.
Yeah, he was the point of difference, wasn't he? 39 off 18, striking at 216. That's an amazing shot, just standing still, opening the right hip, flicking it over the leg side for another boundary. He timed it sweetly. That shot there, shot of the innings.
Yeah, agree. That was pure, wasn't it, from Vikram? I feel like, you know, in their best combination that he's batting in the top 3, has to. But he couldn't quite get that over Leask, who caught him well. Eagle Breath came out. He couldn't really do too much. Nidamanuru then came out and was able to get a couple away. Scotland, though, let's be honest, they did let a few chances slip through their fingers in the first stage, but in the second half inning, their fielding picked up.
Yeah, it looked like they sort of built into their fielding innings. That was a really good run out of Logan Van Beek. There was one more big maximum at the back end for Teja Nidamanuru, and a couple of wickets late in the piece. Clever bowling with the slower balls. Another big 6 to Teja before he was dismissed. Yeah, you're right, Vinny. I think Scotland got better and better as the innings sort of wore on, especially in the field. And in the end, a couple of wickets to fall, which would put the man on a hat-trick side, but unfortunately couldn't go 3 and 3. Ended up with 2 for 44 of his 4. Slightly expensive. An interesting innings. And boy, I think we're in for an enthralling finish to this one.
Yeah, definitely. Look, last 5 overs end up going for 56. Kind of first 5, last 5, a lot of the damage was done. Vikram, I think, was very important there. 39 off 18 for him after we saw a bright start from 11. 43 off just 31. O'Dowd did bat time for 30. Couldn't really get going. We know that he can. Edwards was a bit of a surprise choice at number 3. Didn't really work out. Loved Nidamanuru late with his 19. And look, as far as the areas, I think Scotland were pretty spot on. Just a 3 wides, no ball in there. And I think we've got a great cricket match on our hands. Let's see how the Scots handle this pitch in particular.
Yeah, I think if Scotland right now in the huddle, they'll be saying we're pretty happy with our efforts so far. First game on tour, and I think they hit the ground fairly decently. We look at some of those bowling fields. Least at the bottom there, he always does a job for them. 1 for 21. Main as well, 2 for 26. Outstanding. Bradley Carey, I thought at the top there, he easily could have had a couple more. I thought he bowled exceptionally well.
Yeah, I want to kind of highlight Main and his changes of pace and how accurate he was with those changes of pace. I think that he read conditions perfectly. So 167 on the board for the Netherlands on home turf in the first of this 6-match series. Scotland after the break chasing 168 for victory. Vinny Souter here, Mr. Maximo with Corey Ruckers and Andrew Leonard. Not too far away. We'll see you shortly for more ECN Netherlands T20 International Tri-Series. Hello and welcome back. Great to have your company here on the European Cricket Network as we're halfway through the opening match of this 6-match tri-series. The Netherlands as well as Scotland and Ireland will be doing battle in T20 Internationals. Of course, great preparation for the ICC T20 World Cup in USA and the West Indies next month. Vinny Sander here, Mr. Maximo, at the beautiful VCC ground on a beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon. And joining me in the comedy box to start the second innings is Corey Ruckers. Corey, 167 for the hosts. How do you think things are shaping up?
Game on. It is definitely game on. Power play might tell us a lot here, Vinny. Hurry and Dutt looks like he's got the ball in hand, and we're almost underway here. Looks like deep back was square, deep sort of wide mid-on, wide mid-wicket. Yeah, it's an interesting one. That first innings was topsy-turvy. Vikramjit Singh, he was the player to stand out the most. A really impact sort of innings. Held together through Levitt and O'Dowd. Is 167 enough? We'll find out. First ball in the second innings of this T20I.
Starting with spin. Worked away for a single first up. Do you think this is something we can expect regularly from the Netherlands?
Yeah, the Netherlands, Arjen Dutt sort of made this his own. He's taken some big wickets around the world in the last couple of years while the Dutch were playing in the Super League and World Cups. He's very good with the new ball, has a beautiful ball that slides in. Ollie Hares, we've seen a lot of him, opening with Jones. Ollie Hares, this will test him a little bit because it's going to be coming into those pads and the odd one will spin away. One thing about Ollie Hares, when he hits it, it stays hit, Vinny.
I mean, he's built for power.
Yeah.
He is built for power, Ollie. That goes around the wicket to the left-hander. First one's strange little kind of work off the back foot, gets away with it.
Well, look, we've got that deep mid-on and deep square leg. Just wanted to back away and punch it over the offside. Just stopped a little bit on him. Playing spin for the first time on this wicket is different.
Yeah, deep square leg. And long on, the two outfielders. Not just kind of sliding that one in. It's more of a traditional off break. Hits it hard, but hits it straight at the fielder. Well handled there by Engelbrecht.
Yeah, Ollie Hares, it's been put up there from the last year or so. They went to the regional qualifier, did Scotland and T20s. He smashed it everywhere. He's won that opening spot, going to the World Cup. He's out there do one thing and get on with it in the power play.
Once again, he's kind of backing himself into a bit of trouble. I do get he's trying to open up those offside boundaries, but Dutt's been pretty clever following him here.
Yeah, Dutt's a very clever bowler, and he's got such experience with bowling with the new ball now. It doesn't matter who he's coming up against. He's confident in that role. So an important 2 deliveries here in the first. Just feel like Hares is itching to get that first one away.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Pick up straight down the ground as well. Once again, he kind of ties him up. Bit of miscommunication. Almost creates a runner. Actually hits Jones as he runs back to the non-striker's end.
Well, there's a little bit of a question from Scott Edwards, the captain here of the Netherlands. He's thrown that and just said, has he run back in the right line? Obstructing the field, obstructing the throw. I think that's pretty innocent, though.
Yeah, I mean, how is he meant to turn? You know, he turns kind of on his right foot, and he's probably aware that he's probably in a bit of...
I don't think Jones has done anything wrong. They're just a natural turn. It was an adventurous question.
But also the umpires have to go on what they see, so you'd have to be pretty certain without a replay to make that call. Dutt only concedes one in the first over, and it's going to stay at 1. So that's the end of 1. Scotland 1 for none, and really, they need to chase these in 19 now.
Well, for me, in this innings, Dutt and Dorham on debut are the key. So with this pitch, what we've just seen there, when the ball pitches the very first time on a hybrid, it doesn't stop so much off spin, it skids. And you just saw he got hurried up a few times there. This is the tri-series we're talking about. Tomorrow, we get to see the luck of the Irish.
Yeah, well, I probably wouldn't try that Irish accent just yet. We've got Lenny for that. But yeah, also, I love these 5 o'clock starts. Beautiful time of day. Yeah, some people, even when we get to the weekdays, might be able to get off work a little bit early to come and join in. And then a couple of the morning starts. Do you think it'll be very different starting earlier in the day on Thursday and Friday?
I don't think there'll be too much of a difference, to be completely honest with you. All I'll know is that when it does finish that Friday afternoon, there'll be 3 teams that would have had a good run out, and they'll all be prepared for the World Cup.
And I hope every day is weather like this, 19 degrees and afternoon sunshine. Here's another player we know very well on ECN, Viv Kingma, opening the bowling from the windmill end. And loses it down the leg side first up. Scotty Edwards behind the stumps.
From all reports, Kingma was bowling rockets in Nepal. He's won the ticket to the Americas, and to the Windies. He's a bit unfortunate in the previous few seasons, Vinny, to miss out on World Cup.
He's had to deal with some real disappointment.
Real disappointment. But he's got an opportunity in this tri-series. He's going to the World Cup. And I tell you what, out of all the Dutch players, he's one that can take a lot of wickets early when he gets on a bit of a run.
Into Jones. Much better areas that time. A hint of away movement there from Kingma.
And that's a sort of trademark Kingma, just taking it a little bit away.
Hey, there's a comment in here in the live chat, ECN European Cricket Network, saying looking forward to seeing how Doran bowls. Took loads of wickets in the West Indies Championship earlier in the year. He's been playing for the Leeward Islands, right?
Took a cheeky 7 for 29 in one of the 50-over fixtures. Third best ever figures over there. So look out for him probably from over 6, over 7.
This one won't beat them at all. So we thought the Netherlands had a slightly subdued start at one end, at least O'Dowd not really getting going, but neither of these two openers have really been able to click so far.
I guess the one thing with these talented batsmen, Jones and Hares, they'll know they can always catch up, but maybe a few nerves just creeping in. Want to get that first one away, sort of set the tone in the chase. Nice start here from the Dutch.
A few people also saying no Muncie probably makes the chase even tougher for Scotland. Now he takes the run, he's going to find the fielder. So Kingma breaks through with the wicket, and Van Meekeren takes the catch. And this horror start continues for the Scots. They're 2 for 1.
Well, we're talking about early wickets, and Kingma delivers that for the Netherlands once again. It was a foolish delivery, but I don't know if they've found the pace of the wicket yet, the two openers. And it sort of seemed to hurry him up a little bit. Low on the bat, no timing at all. Paul Van Meekeren, simple catch. And look, the crowd that has come in, Vinny, they enjoyed that one.
They certainly did. Yeah, not really any wind to speak of, so just kind of backing himself to get it over the infield. Didn't work out that way. Disappointment for Jones. He has to go for just a single. 2 for 1. Brings young Charlie Tier to the crease. I'm sure he'll sense this is a real opportunity to make a name for himself in that Scottish shirt.
Yeah, just playing as a batsman in this one here. He's a really handy wicket keeper as well, but obviously Cross gets the nod with the gloves. Gets a big opportunity at number 3. Plenty of time to work with, but he'll know he needs to get on with it pretty quickly. Only 19 years of age, but a good opportunity to score some runs for his nation here.
Also had a question from Terry, who I know does a lot of umpiring down in Australia. Who are the umpires? Of course, we've got Pim Van Lint out there, Nitin Bharti and Rizwan Akram overseeing this T20 International. Crowd's building up more and more and more.
Well, it's 10 to 7 on a Saturday night in the Netherlands, Vinny. Why wouldn't you?
Normally I've knocked off work by now, but that's fine. Don't mind staying. Here's Kingma with his tail up. Bowling to Tier. Well, lost one earlier in the over. Turned out okay. Another wide against Kingma. Yeah, talk me through this field, Corey. What do you think the plans are here?
Something that the Netherlands are doing quite often. You've got a deep backward square and a deep point. They actually cover the 2 square boundaries. You won't often see them drop a fine leg or a third man back. And in the Pro Series, that's what Scott Edwards and Max O'Dowd did as the 2 respected captains. So look for that. Cover the square boundaries. Make them hit straight. And don't worry about if there's an edge for 4.
Just angles this away. Long chase. I might look for 2 here. On an Engelbrecht's watch. And good fielding. That's certainly something I think Scotland let themselves down with a little bit, especially in the first half of that first innings.
Well, you'll like a little bit of Engelbrecht's. Well, throw with both arms. So he's probably one man that you want definitely fielding out on the boundary. And there's a good bit of fielding to keep it to 1. Tear off the mark. Hares, 0 off 5. I think he'll be eyeing this one up.
I don't think we'll see it broken this week, but longer stuck on ECN, none off 13.
I'd be very surprised if we saw some ECN records like that go down, Vinny. There's too many talented players on our shores for the next week or so. And then obviously we have the Women's Nationals also after this series.
We haven't really talked about our whole Dutch adventure because it's obviously just the first day here. We have a week of these T20 Internationals in the Tri-Series. And 2 other series we'll be covering as well. Oh, this one goes straight through him.
Oh,
how did that miss? Hare's very lucky to survive.
That has missed off stick by a whisker. What a delivery. Coming back late. Kingma, I think, was already up for the run-off with the celebration. How close is this? Oof.
Came back, just not quite enough in the end. Edwards does well. That swings a lot after the stumps. Stops it going to the boundary. Yeah, we had a none off 12 in Estonia. And Paul Stubbsy Stubbs, he'd woken up thinking he might lose the record. Anyway, here's just needs a shot to get himself going, doesn't he? Misses out here, so he's looking a bit out of touch at the moment. Good over from Kingver. Yeah, only 3 off that. There was only 1 off the bat. And at the end of 2 overs, Scotland 4 for 1.
Look, it's only an early little bit of a taste of this second innings, but right now, if you only make 167 on the ball, you'd be very happy with the start. Obviously, table waiting to be updated. We'll have our first victors over the next hour and a half or so. Looking forward to seeing the Irish tomorrow as well. They must be watching this and being pretty excited to get out there.
There's no real clear favourite in this series. There's no real clear underdog. How do you see it?
It's tough. It's tough. We get sort of bite-sized glimpses of these teams from time to time, and then you see a lot of new players come through. I think Ireland obviously will take a little bit of momentum from their Pakistan series last week.
We haven't talked about that too much.
So they will take a bit out of that. They've been playing good, high-level, active cricket. Maybe they hit the ground running. But the Netherlands have been playing on this field quite a lot also. Van Beek over number 2.
Yeah, he'll take over from Dutton, who only bowls a 1 over, so 2 overs in. Over number 3 to Logan Van Beek, who's a player I'm really looking forward to seeing live for the first time. Seen a lot of him on TV. He's certainly a guy that's a multifaceted cricketer. And Netherlands just have just built this kind of unit that are challenging some of the top teams in the world. Fraction short and actually beats Tier for pace. Edwards all shy, but they'll get through for a leg bye.
Just haven't found a way so far, Scotland, to get some timing going. If anything, that one seemed to zip off the wicket just a little bit and hurried him up. So here's his 0 of 7. It doesn't matter what level of cricket you play around the world. If you're 0 of 7, you always start to feel a bit twitchy. You know you want to get one out the middle. You have to.
And I wonder how much of this is just maybe where we're at in this season, but how much of it is kind of the actual pitch and trying to come to terms with it. Obviously, none of the Scottish top order really have so far. Van Beek, it's a fraction short, just kind of zips through again. It wasn't that short to pull.
Can you see that zip? You just see it sort of kisses the wicket and it picks up a little bit of speed. It doesn't stop. So Hare's really struggling to find some timing here. Van Beek, pace on. Really got that one to zip through.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it doesn't bounce as much as Hare's is expecting. Obviously, Van Beek bowls the ball at a decent clip. Something that 167 is looking like a lot more, isn't it, for Team Scotland? Feeling for this one. Can't get it out of the infield.
Well, we're getting to a point here where the Netherlands are really starting to pull away in this game. There's going to have to be a big push here from Scotland at some stage. It's almost up to 10s and over now, 9.4. Brilliant bowling from the Netherlands so far. Haven't offered too much width. Haven't given away any freebies. Just doing what they need to do. Asking the batsmen to make the running, and they just can't at the moment.
4 dots for Van Beek to start his spell. Now we'll get a run. It'll be more than 1. This is running away, and that will be the first boundary. Sorely needed as Hares gets off the globe.
Yeah, confidence builder for Hares. Look, we've seen a lot of him. We saw him came out play in Malaga in Kardama for the Scottish 11. He's an extremely talented man, and if he gets his timing, look out. That's a brilliant shot. That's not the worst ball from Van Beek, but he made something out of nothing.
Kind of threaded the needle there. Fairly packed cover region. I think Van Beek, he won't mind that. He won't be thrilled with it, but his challenge delivery also kind of delivery that might bring a little edge. Now this is going to set a task for Edwards. What a fantastic bit of wicket keeping.
Yeah, the crowd erupts as well. I enjoyed that one. Brilliant keeping.
This actually swings. It swings quite a lot and it keeps swinging after the stumps. But that's fantastic keeping from Edwards. You'll see the take and everyone will stand up and applaud, but his footwork actually got him in a position where he could actually reach that ball in the first place.
Yeah, saves a couple extra runs as well. So can Van Beek close this over out, or does Hares find another boundary?
Bowled him. It's hit the top of the middle stump, and Van Beek has some reward. And Scotland well behind in this match now, 10 for 2. Hares goes for 4.
Brilliant bowling from Van Beek, a really tidy over. He hit halfway up that pitch, skidding it through, hitting the top of the stumps a few times here, and he gets the reward off the last ball. A disastrous start here for Scotland, but Netherlands pulling away a little bit early in this chase.
Yeah, it's one of those innings that probably would have been better for his team if he'd gone first ball, because he does chew up a lot of deliveries. Never really came to terms with what was coming at him, Van Beek. He'll be hoping, and that's the first of many death rattles that he hears over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't his day today, but I'm sure we'll see a lot more of Ollie Hares throughout the week. Does bring the Scottish skipper to the crease, Richie Berrington. Seriously talented player. Bit of a captain's innings needed here.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see where he ends up batting in their World Cup lineup, whether they bat him higher than 4, maybe they use him as an opening option. I guess they've got a few ways they could slice and dice it, Scotland. A real kind of mix of two, I wouldn't say generations, because obviously they're sharing the same field, but a sense of the established and the emerging in this third wicket partnership. And probably a good guy to be out there with Tier. Barrington joins him at the crease with all his experience. He'll know, okay, still got 17 overs to go. It's 10 for 2 after 3 at the moment.
Yeah, no surprise here. See Edwards put in a slip for his third over. King Ma's going to continue to move to probably a bit wider, a bit of a second slip.
Tacky move, isn't it? Probably feel like if you can grab another wicket or 2, you can put this game to bed in advance. Here's Kingma. Watches this and won't beat point. The Dutch have come out. I suppose, yeah, they just look a little bit more kind of with it compared to Scotland in the first 5 or 6 overs of the game.
It's definitely one thing that they've had. It's a slight advantage over Ireland. Scotland's playing here at this ground 3 times in the last couple of weeks. A bit familiar with the conditions. I know a lot of these players like Levitt, this is his home ground, and there's a few players this is natural to them. So still think Scotland just trying to find their feet. If they do break the shackles, this game isn't over just yet.
Kingma searching in that offside channel. I suppose something I'm enjoying watching is obviously at this level, you got ball into a plan, field set for that plan. There's a lot of thinking that goes around it at the moment. Kingma just getting that hint of the outswing, bringing the slip in, kind of covering that edge.
Well, we're 3.2 overs in, and we haven't seen a short, wide ball. We haven't seen a long hop. We haven't seen a freebie given away. They've nailed the first 20 deliveries of this inning so far, the Netherlands. So they've applied all the pressure. Can tear. Just get one away here and build some momentum.
I'll get something here. Might get a couple, actually. Might even get more than a couple. It continues to run away. In the end, they'll settle for 2. One just not quite getting the same shape from Kingma. Worked away nicely to the leg side by Charlie Tier.
Yeah, Charlie Tier, my apologies, should pronounce it that way, but this looks really good. Little clip off his leg for 2.
Great shot of the ground. Saturday afternoon. Has a kind of English feel about this ground as well.
It's a beautiful ground. It is a beautiful ground.
A lot of great vantage points as well. Great pavilion. Goes up and over the leg side, and a sign of aggression from Charlie. Just kind of plugs in the outfield, doesn't it, in the end? They will come back for 3. Thought he hit that a lot better. And this field not doing him any favours.
That's the 9-iron, Vinny. Got a lot of height on that. Plugged beautifully. The old traditional 3. Don't get too many of those on the ECN network.
Well, in the European Cricket Series, we call that a Maximo. That one won't actually go for 4. At least it's something, isn't it? They need to start somewhere. It's hard to see them being able to catch up if the rest of the power play continues on this trajectory. Anyway, here's Richie Barrington, very experienced campaigner. Just the man for the job. Kingma right on the money in this opening spell. At that time, we'll go for a single.
Yeah, Barrington, the skipper, off the mark first ball. That is with that deep point back. If you can drop it in that hole, it is an easy single. Engelbrecht on your screen there doing the mopping up. Probably the most talented fielder in the Dutch lineup.
Barrington, I mean, he's about as Scottish as they come, but he was born in Pretoria and moved to Scotland when he was very young. But here's the thing, he debuted in 2007. What were you doing in 2007?
Yeah, it was a good year, 2007.
It's a long time ago, and he's still continuing to get on the park and pumping out the runs for Scotland, leading the side. Edged and gone. Just nibbling away, so Tier tries to angle it down to deep third. But a little edge flies through to the Dutch skipper, and Scotland in even more trouble now, 16 for 3.
Just that difficult length, a little bit of movement in the air away. It's what Kingma does, early wickets, and this is why he's won that ticket to the World Cup. Another 2 wickets early in the piece for him. It's a good length, it's a good line. I think Tier will be a little bit disappointed to just sort of a little bit of a waft of the bat, if anything.
Bit of a nothing shot, yeah. I mean, the feet never went anywhere. I mean, I can see what he's thinking, but it's a risky shot. He probably feels if he can kind of deflect into a gap, he might get a cheap boundary. But I think he plays it in the bowler's hands. He was hoping for that kind of a result. So Tier will have to go for 6, and Scotland 16 for 3.
Yeah, what a brilliant start for the Netherlands. They're in dreamland right now. And look, this is something that you'll see a lot from Scott Edwards' captaincy. He's very proactive. You're going to get the left arm off spinner, Daniel Doran bowling now. So not just sticking with the pace. 1 overspell for Van Beek. They like to change 1 overspell for Dutt. King Mars had 2. They change it up often. And this man, well, it's been a long time coming for his T20I debut. He is a serious bowler, Vinny.
Yeah, interesting also that they're bringing him on before the end of the power play. A bit like you, Corey, I thought maybe they'd bring him on after 6 or 7 overs. A lot of people would say that a man this tall shouldn't be allowed to bowl spin because he looks like he belongs right at home, opening the bowling with a new ball and scaring people. But obviously he's chosen to apply himself as a left-arm spinner. A very good one at that. Here's Doran, first ball in international cricket. He's worked away, won't be a run. What a great opportunity for him as well to get some games under his belt.
Yeah.
4 matches over the next week.
Born in St Martin, which is a province of the Netherlands. And yeah, Dutch passport holder, picked for the World Cup squad, gets his opportunity today.
This is cut away nicely into the gap. It'll be a big chase. Barrington is legging it out. They're going to think about 3. They won't take it in the end. It's the keeper, Matt Cross, has come out to join the skipper at the wicket now. So 2 very experienced batters who've been in this situation many times. And they'll still feel that they can perhaps put together a match-defining partnership.
Yeah, so Doran's been playing some first-class cricket out for Leeward Islands in the Windies as well.
Yeah.
But he's a crafty left-arm off-spinner. In the Pro Series recently, he bowled a game here to the best in the Netherlands. 4 overs, none for 11 with 11 singles. And many players were saying just so difficult to get away. Good confidence from skipper Edwards to bring him on early in the power play.
That's a nice shot, and it's going to go over the top again. It's kind of going to plug. It will still get to the boundary though. So Barrington taking the game on. They had the 2 outfielders both on the leg side, so he takes the opportunity to go up over the off. Nice shot by the Scottish skipper.
What a shot from Barrington. Just leaned on it, opened the face, and I thought it was going to be another lob wedge. A bit more top spin on that one, gets it away for 4. Good batting.
Barrington, corner crisis. Now gets careful. Covers in, trying to keep the single, trying to force these dot balls. Obviously, Doran, he's kind of attacking by defending in a way, isn't he? He's not giving you too much to go after. If you do, you're taking a big risk. This will test the deep square legs. A long chase, and it'll be an unsuccessful chase as Barrington moves to 11. Signs of life in this Scottish chase, and signs of liveliness in the crowd at the end of the 5th over. It's 26 for 3. Let's welcome you into the commentary box. Vinny Sandu here, Mr. Maximo for the European Cricket Network. And honestly, it's a pleasure to be here. Worlds colliding a little bit because, like I said, we've seen a lot of these players before. They're about to embark on a cricketing adventure in North America and Central America in the World Cup. And right now, Dutch, impressive, but we're still early in this series. Let's remember that.
Yeah, early in this series. It's still early in this game. Do not write off the Scottish just yet. They bat deep. Barrington's looking good so far. But credit to the Netherlands. They've come out in this second innings and put the ball in the right area so far.
I also like that they went to Doran fairly early. Just kind of, he'd be a little bit nervous probably, even though he's a very experienced campaigner. But just get him out there. Bowled a decent over in the power play. Interesting to see if he continues or whether we'll have a change at that end in the following over. But here is Paul van Meekeren coming on.
So this is something that I think the Netherlands have been very mindful of in the last few years with their cricket. They love to bring all their bowlers on early into an innings, get everyone going a little bit. Another bowling change in the power play. Van Meekeren, we know how much of an enforcer he is for the Dutch side. He'll be looking to put his stamp on this game. Barrington, 11 off 7 though. He's looked good so far.
Good heat from Van Meekeren first up. Good area, deep backward point, well positioned. Now still in the power play for another few balls. There's Vikramjit Singh doing the fielding, and didn't he bat well in that first inning?
At the moment, he's the difference maker in this game because if he hadn't have batted the way he did, it could have been a score of 140, 145, which would have felt a little bit under par. But at the moment, the Dutch have responded with the ball. Cross only out there for a little bit. These two probably hold the biggest keys to the shed if they are to somehow pull off a win from this position.
This one hit to one of the waiting fielders in the cover. Van Maker, remember that bowled really well, took 4 wickets against Bangladesh in the World Cup. That was a memorable game as well for the Netherlands, who may have ended up with more than a couple of victories there last year.
Bit of a big game player, Paul. It always sort of feels like when the Netherlands need someone to stand up, he picks up big wickets at crucial times. He gets his opportunity trying to close out this power play.
Jules in the chat saying great atmosphere at the ground. It's even better if you're here. I suppose watching on TV is the next best thing. Interesting field here. It's set up to be able to still attack the stump sometimes. So you've got the short wicket in there, maybe for the clip. You've got the deep backward square back as well. So it's a bit like you said earlier, kind of protecting those square boundaries in the power play.
Yeah, protect the square boundaries and keep it on a good heavy length. They haven't over-pitched, have they? They haven't bowled too short. They've really nailed their length so far.
And prepared to maybe swallow if there's a little edge that goes for 4.
Yeah,
or
you just take it.
Just that's the way life is. It's not always fair. Cross, trying to get going. And he will get going. He's clipped that one away effortlessly. Brilliant batting. Maximo, the first of the innings, as it ends up in the crowd.
Well, we were saying before, these are not small boundaries. What a shot from Cross. Just a slight erring in line and length. We're just saying they've been so immaculate with their length. That was slightly over pitch. What a shot from Cross.
He used the pace against Van Makeren really well in that shot, didn't he? Just leaned on it, timed it. Got it in front of square, even more importantly, so it kind of took that fielder out of the game that was patrolling. That deep backward square leg boundary. Comeback ball for Van Makeren. It's a pretty good one. Beats him outside off. End of the 6th over. The score is 34 for 3. Van Makeren won't be too happy about being lifted up over the ropes, but still be reasonably happy, I think, with 8 runs off the over. Less than the asking rate at the moment. Barrington and Cross at the crease at the moment. Least listed at 6. He's got a brilliant 90-odd. Last time he was on the network, playing for the British and Irish Knights in the Western Shield. Big thanks to Corey Ruckers, stepping out for a sec. Joining me back in the commentary box is Andrew Leonard.
Yeah, good evening, Vinny. Good evening, everyone. Netherlands are well ahead at this stage, but plenty of time for Scotland to fight back into it.
Now you're excited, as everyone is, to see Durham in the orange shirt.
Yeah, remarkable Dutch career he's had, because obviously there was the applause and the cap presentation for this format, but he debuted 11 years ago. It sounds like it couldn't even be possible given he's only 26.
Lifted up over the top into the gap as well. That's got some work to do. He's not going to be able to hunt it down. 4 runs to Barrington.
Well, Barrington's 2 favoured areas, particularly off the spinners, are inside out over extra and the slog sweep to deep cow. They usually tend to be 2 vacant areas. And look at the way, the ease with which he plays, the fluency with which he plays inside out over extra. Exceptional stroke.
Tossed up a little bit more. And being in the 7th over now, up to 5 outfielders are allowed. They're being employed with 3 guarding the leg side boundary, 2 out in the off. 5-4 field, 5 on the off, 4 on the leg. It's Cross. Needs to be a bit more than just a support role here, doesn't he, at number 5. That rate climbing towards 10 and over required.
Yeah, and there is power and real all-round skill to come too. With probably see Leeskin next at 6, you'd suspect.
Block hole delivery, full toss, played away. They might look for 2 here. Going to take it on, a slightly dicey one. And they'll get it. Throw didn't have too much juice on it from the outfield.
And then likely at 7 and 8, I suspect it'll either be Chris Greaves or Mark Watt, depending upon the situation. Those 2, and Chris Sole even very capable of hitting a big ball at number 9. A little bit of a warning here, I believe, for the debutant. Might be going straight down the pitch. Umpire none too pleased.
Yeah, and I suppose he's got a bigger stride than most, doesn't he, Durham? So maybe that kind of 1 extra step actually puts him into the protected area.
Yeah, I think with his height and obviously the fact he's a left-arm spinner, you do think of Suleiman Ben immediately, the former West Indian spinner, but his action isn't really anything like Big Suleiman bends, and something that surprised me actually, the first time seeing him bowl with my own eyes, he gives it a little bit more flight than I perhaps expected.
Yeah, I've liked the variation, the kind of subtle variation that he's brought in to his couple of overs so far. He's had 18 taken off his first 2 in T20Is for the Dutch, and Scotland after 7 are 42 for 3.
The key thing for the Scots to keep their eyes on here is that required run rate. It's under 10 runs per over at the moment, which is where they would like it to be. As soon as it gets up to 11, 12, 13, you get yourself into trouble, whatever the facility.
Once you're talking 10 and over, it's very hard to make that without a boundary coming in the over.
Yep.
And obviously, I won't say they're big boundaries here, but in biggish pockets of the ground, you do have the ability to kind of defend them a little bit easier than some other grounds. Van Meekeren looks like he's going to come back to bowl again. I like the variation in this Dutch bowling lineup as well. Van Meekeren obviously sending down a few thunderbolts, but they've got Dutt as a spin option. You've got Durham as a very different kind of spinner. He's over 8. Starts with cross knocking one to mid-on. It's in the circle. I've seen that a bit more than I might have expected with long on and long off not being automatics. So kind of protecting the behind boundaries, kind of basically putting the ball in the batter's court, saying, hey, if you think you can hit the ball back over the bowler's head, then be my guest.
And what it allows is it allows Van Meekeren to use that short ball. So it means he can have fine leg out, he can have deep third out. If they're up in the circle, as soon as you go short, top edge will get you 4 or 6.
Just angled away, well handled there by Logan van Beek.
There's lovely balance to the Dutch attack, as you rightly pointed out there. And you do have some part-time options too. We see Max O'Dowd occasionally with the ball, also Sybrand Engelbrecht. He'd probably only be used to a left-hander. That'll be Mark Watts if he comes in later in the innings with Ollie Hares back in the hutch. Also shows for me the kind of problems at the top for Scotland is to how valuable George Munsey's become completely indispensable in this format, in particular for Scotland at the top of the order. They missed him today.
Fraction short, but a little bit late in that horizontal bat stroke, Barrington.
Yeah, it's a good length. I like that length from Van Meekeren. And he'll be really dreaming, obviously released by Gloucester at the end of last year, dreaming of another impressive World Cup to capture the eyes of someone. Another one of the associates who was out in franchise action recently, who's playing for the Dubai Capitals in the T20I in January. Just the one appearance in that. He's always had incredible potential. It was really that 2016 T20 World Cup where he caught the eyes of so many in India.
Again, kind of length delivery this time. It eludes the infielder. Barrington will get 1. Yeah, I suppose you could see that the previous ball, Barrington kind of charging, trying to make something drivable. Obviously, Van Meekeren's been banging it in and just identifying, okay, maybe I can get it down the ground. But yeah, the short ball is fairly well protected with the field they put. The batter probably is in control of the result.
The other thing that having mid-on up in the circle allows you is that really deep protection, square of the wicket on the leg side. So they've got a deep mid-wicket, a deep square leg, as you saw there, and fine leg out too.
This time they will turn around the corner, no infielders in that region. So it's a simple single. I know that Terry Richmond is in the chat saying hello to you, Andrew, and Keshab saying hi as well. And I've got a lot of comments from our Nepali viewers saying hello, Taklu Dai, which, tell me if this is a decent translation. Does it mean bald older brother?
Yes, well, bald elder brother.
Bald, okay.
Yeah, no, and look, I suppose it's second nature to me to be used to my nickname. It's something I love, the Taklu Dai. I get called that almost as much as Lenny now. But yeah, Taklu Dai, bald elder brother. Disparaging and complimentary. Love it.
I don't think being bald's a problem these days.
I love it. I think we're bringing it back, Vinny.
And partly it's by choice because you do not have a single hair on that head.
Freshly shaved this morning.
We'll come back to that right now. It's the end of the 8th over in Scotland, 46 for 3.
Yeah, well behind at the moment, as you'll see. Good athleticism, as always, from Richie Barrington. I think he would have safely been home. Amazing to think he's 37. He's still really leading the way, not just in terms of his captaincy, but his fielding. He's probably still one of the best fielders in the Scottish side, alongside the likes of Brad Curry, Michael Leask, a fine fielder as well. And even though they're behind, I think they've just got something to work with this partnership, despite that impressive 8th over from Paul Van Meekeren. The other part-time bowling option we haven't mentioned for the Dutch is Vikramjit Singh, who bowls these kind of little medium pacers. Now, for me, they're very much part-timers, and I would suspect that Barrington and Cross will have to line this over up and have a go at it. You want a double-digit over here, surely, if you're Richie Barrington.
Yeah, you have to catch them up somewhere, don't you? And that was a great over by Van Maker, just the 4 singles in it. And we haven't had a boundary for 10 balls now. So, yeah, I suppose an open question whether there's still room in cricket for the good old-fashioned medium pacer. There's Vikram. Sprays the first one down the leg side.
I think the reason Scott Edwards has gone to him is he just wants to have that over up his sleeve if one of the 5 primary bowlers has a poor day. But as a consequence, Scotland will surely know that this isn't a full-time bowler and they have to have a go at him. Might also bring about a wicket-taking opportunity.
Driven pretty firmly into the gap. It should be an easy 2 here. They'll get back fairly comfortably. Max O'Dowd doing the fielding out there. Yeah, I think it's actually pretty clever to bring him on now because you're basically saying to Scotland, do you want to attack at this stage? There's very much still in the consolidation phase in this chase. And like I said, it gives you flexibility down the stretch to have more choices available of your main bowlers. And they do go after this one, but one hopper out to Engelbrecht at deep mid wicket.
Yeah, that shot doesn't surprise me in any way. You can see Barrington going, okay, we've got to find a couple of boundaries here, ideally, a couple of maximums. Lovely to see so many in. Plenty of beverages being enjoyed. Saturday night action, family time too. Really, really healthy crowd. I think for me, this shows the health of the modern associate game. Probably the best part of 1,000 people in. Really good atmosphere, knowledgeable cricket people. And getting to see their heroes up close and personal before they head to the World Cup.
Yeah, there's nice intimacy to it as well. And when you think about some of the stadiums that these players will play in over the next month or so. This is a fraction short. Won't go all the way. Completely sure the fielder in the circle saw too much of that. They'll get 2.
Just wondered if Van Meekeren gets something on it, almost sort of a flailing limb, because it seemed to slow down, didn't it, after it went by him.
Yeah, it's not full kind of, I suppose, effort from the fine leg. I think it's just kind of pointing. I think it's going that way. I don't think it was going as fast as he initially thought.
It was just clothed, wasn't it? Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
That sort of late evening sun proving a bit tricky to see through.
Late on this one, isn't he? Vikram will be pretty impressed that he beats Cross for pace there. They're getting away with it at the moment with Vikram.
Yeah, the 2 internationals we saw last year here between the Netherlands and New Zealand, the Dutch really should have won the first game. I think they came up 14 runs short of a middling total, around 150 odd, but they're in winning positions in the chase. In the second game, Dutch could only make about 140, and New Zealand chased it in 14 overs. So there is runs on these pitches here in Voorburg. Since they've gone to the hybrid nature, Edwards is going to allow a bye with the fumble. Will be given as runs, in fact, so maybe just something off it.
Yeah, it's actually getting the ball to deck a little bit off this pitch.
Yeah, and certainly for me, I think there's kind of a learning process, isn't there? You're playing on a different surface. It's as much in the mind as anything, Vinny, for the batters.
Definitely, especially early with the openers. Didn't have the start they wanted.
And this one's clothed again, just no real rhythm or timing in the over. So Singh's over goes for 8. Maybe that's job done for him. 9 have been bowled, 54 for 3.
It's interesting. I mean, the other argument would be, hey, if you're getting away with overs from him, maybe stick with it while it's working. I mean, it's that kind of balance, isn't it, between keeping with what's working without being predictable. But I think it was a fairly decent over. Actually getting a little bit of movement off the seam, off this deck. And I was curious to see. I've heard a lot about how spinners tend to bowl well on this surface. I was curious if it would seam around that mixture of kind of the natural turf and the stitched and artificial. There has been the odd ball that has moved off the straight. Now we're going to get Aryan Dutt coming, swung around to the window end for over number 10.
For me, Vinny, certainly the pick of the bowlers in the second innings here in the chase for Scotland has been the same as Kingman and Van Beek, the wicket takers, but also Van Meekeren showing plenty of skills there. This just could be an opportunity for the Scots. The ball turning into them.
No boundaries for 16 balls now. Something's got to give here.
Yeah, big shots coming. Should be the slog sweep I'd expect from Barrington. That will be one of his go-to shots. There's a big gap too. Even though long on is reasonably wide, probably about 35 metres between him and deep mid-wicket. So that'll be probably the area of the ground he'll target here. This time didn't get the length he wanted to hit against. Van Beek's a great cricketer to have. Super asset, bat balling in the field.
It's a triple threat. Like Van Beek. I suppose have that belief within the Dutch camp because of some of the results they've had, some of the fantastic moments they've had over the past few years, that they belong at the top level of cricket. And I think that comes through in everything they're doing, comes through some of the new players coming in as well. Obviously, it's a great domestic setup here in the Netherlands as well.
Yeah, and what Corey was talking about, that all that Pro Series work that they've put in is really coming to spades here. Swept around the corner. That's really good manipulation of the field from Cross. It was the boundary that they so sorely needed. And maybe in this second half of the chase, the Scots are going to come into their own now. It's going to be in and around 100 off 60. I think we still have a game on here, Vinny.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he's very clever how he's opened up that kind of behind square leg area by taking a little bit of a step outside the off stump. See here, that front foot comes across outside the off stump. Perfectly executed sweep shot by Cross.
Yeah, the reason it's so good as well, Vinny, is that you almost know where the ball is going to be angled and pitched by Dutt when he comes around the wicket like this. Now the man at deep backward square, he comes maybe, 5 or 6 yards further to his right. Big gap between him and mid-wicket now. And this is at the back pad. It's very full. Difficult for the umpire to give. Did it pitch in lines? That's probably the first question.
Yeah, and it looks going to be hard to tell. And I know a lot of people would like to see cameras at both ends. We'd love to bring it to you, but maybe a little bit of a scratch on that from Cross.
That's another reason it's not out, really, isn't it? There's bat involved.
And the thing with the angle, there's not too many balls, even if it did hit him in the pad, there's not too many balls that are pitching in line, hitting the pad and going on to hit the stumps at that angle. Back over the wicket now to Barrington.
And certainly, just this partnership starts to grow, it starts to build. You've got all that experience of Barrington and Cross. And I think we could be in for a grandstand finish in front of a great crowd. Such positive signs for Dutch cricket here today. Lovely atmosphere, enjoying every second, Vinny.
Yeah, definitely. That boundary early in the over broke a sequence of 17 boundaryless balls. If you can get the second boundary in the over, though, you know you're ahead of what you needed in the over. That rate being in the 10s at the moment.
And what they need is some double-digit overs, and they're not really getting those with any regularity. There's only been one in this inning so far. Contrast that to the Dutch. There was 6, in fact 7 overs of double digits. You've got to make big overs, which will give you a real hunt in the chase. It's going to be about 100, 105 off the last 10. I think they're still in it. But they would love a boundary here to take them to the drinks break.
Absolutely would. 9 off Dutt's bowling so far, as this will be knocked down partially and well enough to not concede a run. So at the end of the 10th over, the score is 62 for 3. Gives us a chance to welcome you into the commentary box. Great to have your company. And I know we've got viewers all around the world right now. And I'm here, Vinny Sandu, Mr. Maximo for ECN. Andrew Leonard, our special guest. You're a bit more than a guest. You have had a few times that you've been commentating with us on ECN.
I've had the one. This is number 2. 2 of many, I hope.
Repeat offender. Great to have you here. Loving watching these two teams going head to head. Scotland, they need something. But you just feel if they could get one big over, then maybe they could kind of start to believe that they can chase this down. Yeah, for me, they've got just the right man up their sleeve in Michael Leask. He's been in really good form. I think he's playing the best cricket of his career for me by a distance. I think he'll score very, very quickly and fluently right from the off. He's also very good against spin, and there's plenty of overs of spin we'll probably still see. Yeah, definitely. And of course, these two teams are heading to the World Cup before too long in the West Indies and the USA. And of course, can watch that live and free on icc.tv starting on the 2nd of June, going all the way through to the 29th, culminating in a World Cup final. Hey, the T20 format has brought so much to the game in the last, say, 15 to 20 years or so, but it's brought us more World Cups. Used to be you had to wait 4 years for a World Cup. Now, in a 4-year period, you'll get 3 of them just in the men's alone. Yeah, I actually think they've got the kind of the balance just right.
They have, you know, the 2 T20 World Cups once every 2 years, and then they've got the sort of premier 50-over World Cup once every 4 years. And the great news in this cycle, Vinny, you spoke about that being a 10-team event in the last cycle. That's now switching back to 14 teams in this cycle, so you'll have guaranteed associate places there at that. And also for me, if you look at how much there is to look forward to, a first ever World Cup on American soil.
Yeah.
There's always a good culture and a kind of carnival feel to cricket in the Caribbean, which will host all of the kind of latter stages of the competition through the Super 8 into the semi-final and indeed the finals. I wouldn't rule out one of the sides that we have here, Vinny, one of the 3 that we're covering in this series getting to a Super 8. And actually, I'd rate all 3 of their chances quite similarly. I think Ireland will maybe fancy their chances of squeezing by Pakistan. That's the final game in that Group A on the 16th of June in Florida. I think Scotland absolutely have already shown why they could get past in England. And then the Dutch, well, they've been there, they've done it all before. Last 2 times they played South Africa, they've beaten them.
Yeah, exactly. And South Africa, probably the last thing they want is to see orange shirts in a World Cup. Also pretty excited to see Papua New Guinea in a World Cup for the first time. Obviously, they're Australia's nearest neighbour, actually, by distance. And the teams that have emerged and now kind of feel more at home in the level, like Afghanistan, for example, in Group C. But
isn't it brilliant, Vinny? You look at the kind of growth of cricket worldwide. 10 years ago, you could not have in your wildest dreams have thought that Afghanistan would be qualifying for World Cups regularly. Now they're beating the biggest sides in the world regularly. You don't even really talk about them as being an upset. When they beat England at the 50-over World Cup there in India, people were saying, well, it's not really an upset in those conditions.
They had Australia on the ropes at a 90 for 7.
Well, to be honest, barring the Glenn Maxwell miracle, they would have beaten Australia, the world champions, at that game too. Van Beek back into the attack. It's going to be 106 to win off the last 10. Game on here in Voorburg, and a nice little partnership for the 3rd wicket. It's built a bit of stability, but they need to start scoring more fluently.
Yeah, that's true. Kind of need multiple boundary overs. Yeah, at least every second over, I feel, at the moment. Yeah, one thing I'm looking forward to as well is the North American derby in a Cricket World Cup, USA-Canada. It's a rematch of the first ever international cricket match, right?
Picked up into the leg side. There's a lot of vacant space out there and picks the gap. That's really good from Matthew Cross. He's looked fluent since he started his innings. And pressure on Van Beek in his return over, 4 to the total.
Well, I said a little while ago, Cross needs to play more than just a support role here, and he's playing his role to perfection, isn't he? He just seems to have that knack of finding that boundary. Maybe a little bit straight from Van Beek, who's protecting the stumps, but he's ostensibly got protection out there. That was just a good example of threading the needle and finding the gap.
Oh dear, this is going to be a painful one. There's half an appeal, but Matthew Cross is not thinking about preserving his wicket. He's thinking about preserving his crown jewels right now.
Yeah, I think the stumps would have had to have been twice as high for this to be ending anywhere near close. Actually, he may have just kind of hit just above the knee, missing the pad. That'll hurt. Yeah, it bounces up into the midriff. Hey, speaking of that, Australia's Afghanistan game in the 50-over World Cup, being around Europe like I am, I ended up listening to a radio broadcast of that. I can't remember the last time I actually genuinely listened to radio, unless I was in my car or something like that. It's not often I do anymore. Come back to that in a second. Here's Van Beek.
A little change of pace, very subtle one, and they're going to take on the single, and Cross is quick, so he'll get home. Yeah, you were just mentioning that USA-Canada match that'll actually open the tournament, and it's a really good nod to the history of the sport in North America. Like you said, the first ever international sporting fixture of any kind, 1844, over 175 years ago in New York. I think Cross would have got home here.
Just home. Yeah, but also the great thing about that, you've got 2, I suppose, of the lesser-known cricketing nations, I suppose, in a World Cup. But both will feel that's a genuinely winnable match first up, different to USA coming up against an England or an Australia.
There's a bit of spice on it as well, because the head coach of Canada, as this one's driven very pleasingly through the covers, work for Max O'Dowd to do, who, oh dear, has had a bit of a howler out there. It felt like a cast iron 2. He's doubled that up, he's turned it into 4.
Yeah, well, if Maxi was a car, he'd be a Ford Escort, because he's escorted the ball over the line. He did all the hard yards, didn't he, there, O'Dowd? But just kind of, when he went for the slap back, he kind of French cut it, if that makes sense, and ends up dragging into the body and across the line.
Hasn't really been Maxi's day. I know he's got 30 to his name, but it didn't come in very fluent time.
I think Max would be very pleased. He still has 3 more opportunities to to get on the park for the Netherlands this week. That'll be the end of the 11th over. Van Beek is certainly putting in a good spell at the moment. 1 for 15. His figures 72 for 3 after 11.
Yeah, but 10 from that over, which isn't far off what the Scots need, so they'll be pleased enough. We're just going back one last time to that USA-Canada game. The head coach of Canada now is the former head coach of the USA, Pabudu Dasanayake. So you don't just have the rivalry like we have here in Europe with Ireland, Scotland and the Netherlands all wanting to claim the crown as the sort of leading non-English side of the region, or we can include England into this. When are we going to get a quadrangular, a proper like almost Six Nations light like they have in the rugby?
Speak to your friends over there. I'm very, very positive about it. Obviously, the improvement by some of the less-known nations has been quite marked. Here's Durham coming back. It's being swung around to the bottom end now.
The reason I'd love to see it, I think it'd be a great kickstart to the English calendar. Held around this time of the year, you might not get necessarily an out-and-out full English side. A couple of the guys might still be at the IPL, for example, but you could host it over literally 1 week in London at those historic venues. At Lord's, at the Oval, get in just a little four teams. Everyone plays each other once, have a final on the weekend. I think you get great crowds. It would attract Scottish fans, Irish fans, Dutch fans over.
The value of proximity, right?
Yeah, and I think it would become a real thing in the calendar. Downtown goes Richie Berrington, and he gets every piece of this. He is such a good player, Vinny Sandhu. And that's a maximum, maybe one of the best we've seen all day. Brilliant batting.
Probably is the biggest hit we've seen all day, and it rattles the trees. Straight as you like, and Durham. A little bit of a litmus test here from the Scottish skipper. Good option as well. Knew that it was a fairly big gap straight. You could see that's Van Meekeren at long off. He was kind of creeping around to deep cover.
All of a sudden, we feel like we've got a real chase in our hands, don't we? We didn't for the first 5, 6, 7 overs, but Berrington's class, well, it's just always so apparent to see.
It's been a real momentum game so far. It's kind of ebbed and flowed. I think that the Netherlands have won more phases, but for sure, Berrington striking back here, trying to get something going for the Scots.
Look at how easily he's hit that, Vinny. It's just a quick shuffle of the feet down the crease, and that's gone miles. And
the boundary there is about 68, 69 from the middle of the pit. So you add on 9 to where, let's say 8 for when he hits it. It's a comfortable 76 metres to the rope, and then it's gone about at least 20 over the rope.
That's in the 90s, I was going to say. It's not in the hundreds. We're not saying it is, but it's in the 90-plus region. I'm not sure. I haven't explored the venue fully yet, but I'm presuming there might be another canal over there. There seems to be canals everywhere, because that ball's going to have to be replaced.
Yeah, I hope that one of the first things they do in the Netherlands is teach people to swim, because there's a lot of water around. It's a feature. I've spent a bit of time here before my ECN journey, but also I've been here, I think, my 3rd time now with the network.
Well, Jules Outerbridge in the chat is saying, what about the European Cricket Network at Lord's? I think they'd welcome you in, but I'm not sure. You'd have to make sure you've got something properly tailored, Vinny.
Yeah, I'm sure that would go. I mean, we're already going to Wimbledon.
There we go.
Wimbledon's a pretty historic venue. That starts on Monday, the 27th of May.
This is really good batting from Berrington. He follows up the maximum now with a couple. There's pressure on Durham, and Durham is immediately getting a taste. He's got a fine record in Caribbean domestic cricket. It's a step up to the associate level at the international game.
No doubt about that. He's got the attributes, though, doesn't he? Berrington on 39.
He just holds that back nicely. He's done that. He's varied his pace. So I know the figures don't look great, but there's a lot of promise for this tall debutant today.
Definitely. Had a few comments in the chat. He looks a bit like a left-handed Roger Harper. That's a real throwback.
And he's got his first T20I wicket to go with it. Richie Berrington, he just profited from a maximum down the ground. He tries to repeat the dose, doesn't get anything on it. And look at the fast gloves of Scotty Edwards. That partnership, which was so good for the 4th wicket, it's broken.
Yeah, it's a really clever bit of bowling. You talk about those subtle variations. Also a very good stumping by Edwards, because this is kind of sliding on. That's why it beats the bat. But a little bit of rip there, I think, as well. And Edwards, he stays low long. So he's able to kind of go with it, and Barrington never really even had time to turn around to the Scottish skipper goes at a crucial time, just when it looks like things were turning out, a prolonged 6 and out for him. And after 12 overs, Scotland 82 for 4.
It's a superb stumping because it's turned significantly. Obviously on the reverse angle, you can't always tell at first, but it's beaten the outside edge by quite a distance. And that's why the glove work from Scott Edwards was so impressive, and a moment that big Daniel Doran will never forget. We were just saying that maybe the figures don't quite show how well he's bowled and his potential. He's got a first T20I wicket to his name.
Yeah, I suppose you never know there is a keeper if it's going to actually grip or maybe skid on. But I just think the fact that Edwards, who's got really good technicals, you know, you talked about the fact in the first innings that you've seen 2 of the best associate wicket keepers going head-to-head here. And he was able to adjust to that turn and take it as easy as you like. Here's Michael Leask. Maybe last great hope. Scotland to turn things around. He won't be facing up because it was the end of the over. Van Meekeren comes back to bowl over 13.
And this is always the problem, isn't it? When you've lost those early wickets, even if you get a partnership, new man to the crease, because of that required run rate and that scoreboard pressure, he's not going to have time really to get set. Leask will have to go from the off. He does like to do that. He can score very quickly indeed.
And you go back to those first 2 overs, just 1 off the first, 3 off the second. They burned 2. Essentially, they're trying to chase it in 18. It's time they won't get back, and it's put a lot of pressure on the middle order. Leask will get a chance to face up for the first time.
Vinny, we're just getting word that's actually been given as caught behind.
Ah.
So it certainly would have been a double play, but pardon my ignorance, I thought that was stumped, caught behind. A little bit of an edge as Leask gets off the mark in real style with a couple. Fluent batter.
Must have been a tiny edge. That could be also explain why Barrington doesn't bother turning around, because it does get held. But I always think that keepers prefer stumpings because that's your superpower as a keeper over other fielders. No other player on the pitch can.
Well, I think you and I were convinced it was a stumping, but we were being rightly put back in our box, and we're happy to correct that. Caught behind. Lovely glove work either way by Scott Edwards.
Little each way. You're picking up an edge like that from here, Lenny, you're in the wrong profession. Anyway.
Yeah, I think we've still got a grandstand finish coming. I think if the Scots can keep this under 2 runs per ball going into, let's say, the 18th and 19th, even right now, I think if you offered them, let's say, 30 to win off 18 with 5 wickets in hand, because of the way Greaves and Leask and in particular Mark Watt play, they all hit it into funny areas. They can all pick up boundaries. It's the kind of all-round middle that powers Scotland in T20I cricket.
Yeah. Certainly still a pulse in this game. 1 in 5 times Scotland win from here, according to the computer.
Cross goes big, and he goes a long, long way. That's almost out onto the athletics track. Good piece of work right in the deep by a member in the crowd, maybe off the bounce. Van Meekeren can't believe it. It's a lovely pick-up shot from Matthew Cross, 6 to the total.
We've seen this a couple of times, haven't we, off Van Meekeren, the fact that he's got pace to work with, so it's nothing more than a push, and it flies into the afternoon sun and out of the ground. Cross is certainly believing this is alive, and that rate required, it's kind of been on the 10s for a while, hasn't really been going anywhere.
And if you look at the bowlers that have travelled today, it was Chris Sole. I know he picked up those 2 wickets. He went at 11s in the first innings. And Van Meekeren certainly the quickest of the Dutch bowlers. This time he rolls his fingers over it, takes the pace off. Cross happy to check it down for a single. Just 1 maximum. Look at the percentage change.
Yeah.
1 in 4 now, the potential of Scotland chasing this down.
Ebbs and flows, momentum game. Scotland were getting some momentum. Barrington goes across, kind of doubles down, knows that he has to attack, has to find kind of that 1 boundary and over at a minimum. He can kind of work the rest. For example, this over, the 6, we've had no dot balls in there, 2, 3, 1s, kind of gets them what they need off this over.
Yeah, this has gone a long way up. Who's going to get underneath it? Daniel Doran's down at deep, fine, and holds on. Well, it didn't look too likely when it went up, and he's had to spring forward, but he's got both hands underneath it, and that's a massive wicket for the Netherlands. The men in orange, they strike again.
Well, this guy's played a lot in the West Indies, and what I know about that place, there's a lot of sun. He has to deal with the sun here. Potential sunglasses sponsorship as well, because I think he owes part of it to the eyewear. came in at the last minute for a big guy to get down. His elbows both hit the ground, but he has that ball stay safely in the hands, and it's going to be no luck for Leask as he departs. And Scotland now a 93 for 5.
Yeah, Leask gone for 3. Big wicket, that one, because he can be so dangerous, Leask, and that length that Van Meekeren is probably happier bowling, back of a length, short of a length. It's worked the oracle. What a catch from the big man. All of a sudden, a debut that was proving very challenging is turning into a debut to remember. One more look at this catch, Vinny, exceptional. And as those elbows jarred, it almost bobbled from left hand to right. I'm not quite sure how he's held on to it, but Scotland have lost the 5th, mainly thanks to the big man on his T20I debut.
Well, I don't have any exact numbers on this, but I would wager that his hands are bigger than average hands, and I think that's one reason. The extra surface area means the ball can rattle around, but he still doesn't escape the clasp of Big Dorham.
They'll bring Mark Watt to the crease. I think it's probably 6 of one and half a dozen of the other as to whether you go with Watt or Greaves at 7 or 8. They're both really interesting batters to watch. They hit it into funny areas. They innovate a lot. Watt in particular will ramp and scoop and sweep. But you'd have to imagine one of them will need to provide some assistance now to Matthew Cross, as Dutt will bowl the 14th. Good move from Scott Edwards, immediately getting Dutt back into the attack. Despite the fumble, it'll still just be a single with the left-hander now coming on to strike.
And remember that over from Vikram earlier, just providing that little extra bit of insurance and flexibility that you have a bit more choice down the stretch here. Let's see what Watt can provide.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's why you go to the 6th bowler. Something that Ireland have been getting a bit of criticism on recently. They seem to be kind of rigidly stuck at 5 bowlers, despite having options like George Dockrell and Curtis Camphor. And indeed, Harry Tector with the ball. Maybe we'll see a little bit of them tomorrow.
Dutt's round the wicket to the left-handed Watt.
And even just little periods like this, now a couple of dot balls will start to make that required run rate a real concern for Scotland.
Crept out past 11 now. It does get really tough once it goes over to a ball with these dynamics.
And he clearly loves bowling to left-handers. Out in Kathmandu in the recent start of ICC Men's Cricket World Cup League 2, the Netherlands joining Namibia, going out to Nepal. He ate up the left-handers.
And he's got a very
breakfast.
He's a bit of a mystery spinner, to be honest. He's got a very unusual kind of release point. He kind of has a slightly bent arm, but it stays bent all the way around, which is perfectly fine. But it's an unusual action to face. Very tall as well, Dutt. Now Cross gets the strike back.
Well, that's medium pace. That's probably 120 rather than 80 kilometres per hour. Darted in, and Cross can't get anything on it.
I mean, Dutt's another guy that nature probably intended him to be a fast bowler. And with skills like that, he does use that as a surprise delivery. Certainly did catch Cross by surprise that time.
Now a little bit round arm as well. All sorts of variation being served up by Dutt, but look at the figures, hugely economical. Just 1 ball left in his 3rd. He's gone for only 12 runs.
It's a great pick up by you that he's changed his arm slot again. So this is more round arm rather than over the top. Just see how he kind of goes almost right in front of the umpire.
Yeah, it was Kedar Yadav from India that really started that. That was in the IPL, and then a few others have imitated it. Herod Erasmus does it a bit now for Namibia too. Certainly what we're seeing with the growth of T20 cricket is much more innovation. End of the 14th, 97 for 5. And I think some of the discussions I've seen, Vinny, in and around, it's becoming a batting-dominated game. I disagree with those. I think it actually, if anything, you get a little bit more leeway now as a bowler. You can, if you go at 8 and over, 9 and over, you've had a really good day.
Yeah, maybe low expectations.
Exactly.
But it's true, and we talk about this a lot of the European Cricket Network. We have some outrageous scoring rates, but what it does is it forces bowlers to get better, and with very small margins of error. We talk a lot about hitting the block hole. If you can do that, you're going to get a good result. And the other thing is that good bowlers stand out. You can't be average and expect to succeed against modern batters with the modern dynamics of cricket.
Yeah, and it increases the value of those world-class bowlers all the more. You think about Bumrah in that IPL, that 3rd T20I between Ireland and Pakistan and Clontarf, that player of the match there, despite 2 batters making over 70, was Shaheen Shah Afridi, and rightly so, because he won them the game, 3 for 14. Vivian Kingma back for his second spell. This might be an over where Scotland are going to have to take some risk. He's brilliant at the top. Sometimes he'll even bowl 3 on the bounce. And I know he's worked on his death bowling, but he could be someone you'll target at the death, Vivian Kingma.
Well, they're going to have to target somebody here. It's interesting they're bowling Viv from the other end this time. This is his home ground. He actually lives. He pointed, he said, I live over there, and I thought he meant in that general direction. He actually lives, maybe we'll get the camera on the house. He lives in the nearest house.
Well, I'll tell you, his dad, Jack Kingma, was the only Dutch fan out in Kathmandu. And that is right into the slot. It is Kingma they'll target. Smashed over the team tents. Doesn't have the express pace, so when the ball stops moving, he's someone you can go after. The 100's up, and the chase is still on.
Kind of a slot length, wasn't it? Wasn't quite in the block hole. Wasn't like kind of heavy length. You know, the only good thing for Viv here is if it's bowled at the other end, this is probably breaking a window and finishing in his living room, because it's 180 degrees from where he lives.
Well, they've got the 2 dogs as well back at home.
Pace off a Yorker here. Can't bowl that ball again.
Well, he's missed out, hasn't he? Just wonder, was it the little knuckleball? I know he's been working on his variations. There was something come off it, but look across. He's gutted not to repeat the dose, not to make it back-to-back maximums.
I also think Cross kind of premeditated. He wanted to go in the same area, but that's Viv's house right there, by the way. And that's just over, I suppose, just to the left of screen. But I think this is a ball to hit offside. He had the deep cover open. I think he just had a little bit of an idea in his mind. He was going to repeat the dose.
It's a shot Barrington's more comfortable with, isn't it, over extra. And here's the innovation from Mark Watt. This is why his batting is getting better and better. Gets a good piece of it, gets 4, fine leg up in the circle. Pressure on Kingma.
Yeah, and once again, I feel like he's missed his length here. I mean, makes a pretty early move. I'm sure Viv knows at the point of release that what he's going to try, and he kind of bowls the perfect ball to get a little bit funkalicious, and it's 4 runs to Scotland.
So often when Scotland win T20Is, it's thanks to big contributions at 5, 6, 7, 8. The likes of Leask, the likes of Mark Watt and Greaves to come. That's the slower ball. Beautiful leg cutter rolled out. I think we've got a game on. I don't think 80-20 actually sums it up. Boundary here to be 55 off 5. I think Scotland would have taken that at the start.
Yeah, true. I mean, it gives him a shot. Got pretty close to knocking the off bail off. Yeah, that's the first one I think in the over that Viv has actually got right. I mean, the one before when he got round to the boundary, I think if he got the Yorker in, the next sound you're hearing is probably the sound of the stumps clattering. Last ball of the 15th over.
This has gone a long way up. It's gone nowhere at all. It's Levitt that comes underneath it, and Kingma strikes back. It's his 3rd wicket on his home ground. There'll be a delighted Jack Kingma somewhere circling the boundary. His son's done it again, and it's the big one. We see the departure of the man who's just hit a boundary. Cross maybe the last man standing for Scotland. They've lost their 6th.
Yeah, he loses another partner here, and I think this time there's a definite change in strategy from Kingma, as Watt shows his hand pretty early, doesn't he? So he bangs it in, obviously looking to maybe go down the ground, but it gets difficult when it's that short. Levitt was never going to drop that. Watt goes for 7, 109 for 6.
A good man to have up their sleeve all the way down at number 8. We see him sometimes at 6, sometimes at 7, but he's been held back today, Chris Greaves. Not his day with the ball, but plenty of time to show what he can do with the bat now. Cross realistically is going to have to be there at the death. Who's going to support him after this? It's just Chris Soule. His batting is improving. Brad Curry won't offer a huge amount. And then really, at legs 11, you won't see an awful lot from Gavin Main either.
We'll say hello to everyone as well. It's interacting in the live chat, ECN European Cricket Network. And if you are maybe watching ECN for the first time, why don't you get in and say hello? You can also subscribe to the channel. We're hopeful that this year we'll reach 400,000 subscribers, which means I have to do some kind of a challenge. Last time it was the ice bucket. Luckily, it was 40 degrees in Rome when we did it. But yeah, it's great to see the community growing, and obviously kind of building bridges with the top level of the game with these 3 teams we'll see this week in the Netherlands heading to the World Cup.
Yeah, lovely to see the base and the pyramid of European cricket extending. Thanks to all the work your team is doing, Vinny.
Got some breaking news as well. It's not full news yet. breaking hints coming. But first, let's see Durham. Yeah, so there is some talk that European Cricket Network will even bust through the walls of Europe. We've already had the Thai women on the network, Thailand touring last year. And I'm planning to cover the USA-Canada tri-series here later in the years. This is lifted up over the top, kind of into the gap. Fielders come round, won't make the stop, so Cross continues to fight on, moves within reach of a half century.
Yeah, lovely to see Matthew Cross sort of back approaching his best. I don't think it's been his best 2 or 3 years in international cricket, but when he's fluent like he is today, he's got a lovely rhythm to his batting, doesn't he? And this is a critical knock. It's keeping his side's chances very much alive. Tossed up really teasingly by Durham.
But he's so tall, so what looks like it might be a full toss, because it's coming from so high, can drop into the block a bit like that. Yeah, that's always the question with Cross, isn't it? He's like a pure keeper, isn't he? Not that he can't hold a bat, but the question is, can he belong in the top 6 at international level? You see him putting in a good contribution here.
Yeah, I think he spent a lot of time up at the top of the order. He's opened the batting quite a bit in both T20I and ODI cricket, but with Ollie Hares coming in with that additional power, they've decided to go with what has been the 2 left-handers. I know Michael Jones came in today for the absent George Munsey, but he can kind of play anywhere, and I think maybe they might just have found his spot here at number 5, because he's good against spin. And we've seen those lovely pickup shots into the leg side with plenty of power too. It's been a really good innings, and if he's still there and the final ball is bowled in this chase, Scotland could still squeeze over the line.
2 ball required through the last 4.5 overs.
Just a chip shot down the ground. I'm not sure whether it'll be straight enough to get back for the second. It will be. It's really good running. Cross was positive and fluent, and he immediately said to Greaves, let's get you back on strike. Nice way to get off the mark.
Greaves would love to play an innings of substance here. Not too long to go. I mentioned earlier, once it creeps out past that 12 and over required, it does get pretty difficult to peg it back.
I was just about to say, a couple of big balls here. You almost sense Scotland need a boundary from one of the last 2 of Durham.
Just kind of maybe a premeditated sweep shot there. Back foot never moves. Last ball the over, he might as well have a swing at this one.
Tries to go inside out, gets nothing of it. It's another catch for Levitt, and it's a 2nd wicket on his T20I debut for big Daniel Durham. A day to remember for him, a day he'll never forget, and it could well be a winning start to Scotland. They just keep losing wickets now.
Yeah, that'll be the end of Durham's spell. He takes a wicket with his last ball. He's going to finish with 2 for 35. But again, he's shown that he's comfortable kind of changing that velocity. I think for Greaves, he was between a bit of a rock and a hard place here, because probably didn't really want the single, because you've got the established bat across at the other end. Last ball of the over, so he tries to make something happen, but ends up holding out. Levitt takes another catch. It's 116 for 7 after 16 overs. Andrew Leonard stepping out, and he's getting ready to take control of the post-match presentation. So join me to the last ball once again is Corey Ruckers.
Yeah, good to be back, Vinny. And what an interesting game we've got in our hands. I think when I left the commentary box, it was 16 for 3, and I thought, well, long way back. But credit to the Scottish team. Harrington with 39 of 29. Cross still there. And, well, it's up to him, isn't it? He's 49 of 31. He's batted beautifully. 3 4s, 3 6s. Can he give this game one last push and take it really deep for the Scottish side?
It's been a game that's kind of ebbed and flowed. I mean, both teams have had their moments in the game where they would feel that they weren't quite hitting their targets. Sol gets a hit at number 9. But really, a lot of the burden, pretty much all the burden now on Cross. And have to deal with Logan van Beek coming back in. 4 overs to go. 52 required, and he's chopped on. And really, that could be the last nail in the coffin as Logan van Beek comes on. And once again, Cross just searching for that leg side, a ball that was well outside off, inside edge onto the pegs. He falls for 49, so just missing out on the milestone. Scotland 116 for 8.
Yeah, look, there's a big hole on the leg side. I think he just wanted to drop it on the inner ring and maybe try double back for a 2. Played all around it. It goes through the gate. And yeah, he'd be disappointed. He batted beautifully, 49 to the toe, but you have to imagine that is last chance saloon for the Scottish side.
Again, doesn't look too pretty, but you can see what he's thinking. Maybe he can get a cheap 2 there as well and keep the strike.
A lot of players these days are so good at sort of dropping the ball on the inner ring on the leg side when everyone's back. Just played across it. But look, special innings from him. For a brief moment there, he breathed some life into this contest. 49 of 32, 3 4s, 3 6, striking at 153.
Again, he's a player that I'm excited to see more of this week. And obviously a very key cog of the Scottish lineup heading into that T20 World Cup. Be replaced by Gavin Main, who I thought bowled really well in the first half. And he looks like he's built to clear the boundaries, but that task has just crept out of control. 2 wickets and 2 balls. Take Scotland from 116 for 6 to 116 for 8, and they've lost probably the key batter.
Yeah, the last established batter's been removed. So Sol, Main, and Curry, 3 men left standing.
Well, that could be out as well. It is. It's a team hat-trick, and Van Beek, well, he's on a personal hat-trick. Just caught on the crease there, Main. Nipped back slightly from Logan. And Scotland down to their last batter, 116 for 9.
Yeah, hasn't Van Beek been so good today with his lengths? Once again, this one sort of just skids off the wicket just a tad. And, well, plays across it. LBW, that's going into leg stump. Yeah, easy decision for the umpire.
Well, hold on. Hold the phone, because that's a hat-trick. Logan Van Beek, he took a wicket. I thought he did the last ball of the 3rd over, and he's just taken a hat-trick, and he's Merv Hughes'd us, because I don't think anyone realised, and he's pretty excited. Let's not tell him.
Sure? Are you sure, Vinny?
I'm so sure.
Well, I need triple confirmation. That might be a hat-trick for Logan Van Beek. I don't think anyone's realised around the ground.
This is what happens when the innings get longer than 10 overs. My concentration span does, and I don't know how you're doing this, but yeah.
So he's on for 4 and 4 potentially.
Yeah, but don't tell him, because he probably thinks this is the hat-trick ball. Yeah,
are you sure, Vinny?
He bowled hairs off the last ball of the 3rd over, and then he got cross first ball of this over, and obviously he's just trapped Gavin Main. So we have our first hat-trick. Could it be 4 and 4?
Ooh.
It is not. But really, Curry coming out at 11.
Well done to you, Vinny. Oh, no, hold on. I'm getting some waves in the back of the
Whoa,
box.
whoa.
Oh, Vinny, if you've made him a kosh of this. He bowled the 11th over, Vinny.
Oh, people can bowl more than 2 overs. Okay, that's on me.
Sorry, words coming through the director, Vinny. It's been too long a day for you. You're Mr. T10.
I hope Curry survives this ball, so at least get the chance to explain myself. Because, I'll fess up. Okay, they'll get an overthrow here. So Curry will turn 1 into 2. Okay, that's an ECN moment, because I've done 3,500 games. 3,300 of them are 10-over games. You can only bowl 2 overs. So when I scrolled up on my sheet and I saw a wicket off the last ball is over, normally that's it.
Let's just say at the maybe at the bar hall tonight, you might be buying the first ones, Vinny.
Congratulations, Logan. Your first fake hat-trick on ECN. Anyway, it's been a spirited contest. Looking forward to the return clash, obviously, between these 2 teams. They will meet again later in the week.
Were you calling them out already, saying that they're not going to get that 50 off 19?
We have to be pretty hot, Curry, to get them home from here.
Well, you never know. Logan Van Beek's bowled magnificently. His lengths have been outstanding today. It's just an impact, but comes in early, comes in the middle, comes in late.
Also, you said well done to me. That meant that you're complicit. Last ball of the over. Van Beek does have very good figures going at run a ball. May or may not get a 4th over, depending on how things pan out here. 17 overs down. The score is 119 for 9. Let's welcome you back into the commentary box. And yeah, okay, let's say this is ECN. I'm adjusting back to T20I cricket. I said earlier in the day that it's almost like a coming home, because I did play a fair bit of T20 cricket. Just haven't covered a lot of it lately. But what a great contribution there by Logan Van Beek.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. I think all the Dutch bowlers as a collective, very well rounded, aren't they? With Kingmar at the top, Big Dorum, like the look of him. He's smart today, the way he took the pace off. Wasn't just trying to skid it on, which is one of his traits. And they just look like a team that truly believe. The Super League, it's disappointing they're not in it anymore. But all that exposure they got, and then the 2 World Cups they've attended recently, they're just a confident nation right now.
Absolutely. And look, I was also just testing the viewers to see if they noticed. So don't believe everything I say, by the way. Anyway, here's over number 18. So Sol hasn't actually faced yet. He'll face up to Dutt, who's bowling his last allotted over. just thinking about the Scottish performance, obviously they're falling a little bit short. I also think there were a few missed opportunities, weren't they, in the field? They weren't probably quite at their standards early on. Also, those first 2 overs they kind of burnt, didn't deal with the new ball too well.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I think they'll go back to the drawing board, obviously, and say, look, the fielding standards for them weren't where they would have liked. Obviously, tomorrow we have the Netherlands versus Ireland, same time tomorrow.
Yep.
So they'll go back to drawing board. They know the fielding stands can lift. I think they actually bowled quite well. Just that the top order didn't click today in this run chase.
This one hammered down to long on, but just a single. Yeah, so Scotland will have the day off, I suppose, to prepare, to kind of dissect what worked, what didn't work. We'll see Ireland for the first time tomorrow. Same time, I really like this start time, the late in the day start time. So that's 3 p.m. GMT, 5 o'clock here in Central Europe, and it's 8:30 p.m. in India. Join us for that, as we get to see Paul Stirling's men for the first time in this tri-series. Clipped away by Curry, moved to 5. More a sense of how close can they get now, isn't it, for Scotland?
Yeah, well, look, at the end of the day, you want to win this tri-series. Some net run rates might come in. There's always the permutation teams could end up on 2 and 2, 3-way 2 and 2. So every run's still vital. They'll be a little bit disappointed with how they've gone about this chase, but a lot of credit goes to the Netherlands. So I think they've bowled very well as a collective.
There's that quicker one from Dutt. Maybe 2 there if they turn quickly. They're going to take it on. Long throw. Isn't back quick enough. Yeah, a few people mentioning there in the chat as well, ECN European Cricket Network. We've got a lot of cricket on. We've got cricket during the day. We've got cricket at night as well. That's going to continue into the evening. In fact, on Friday and Sunday this week, we'll actually have four series concurrently. So it's all about the promotion of cricket in Europe and getting more eyeballs on European cricket. Goes after this. Dutt's last ball. And it'll kind of just pop and stop. Vikram will do the fielding, but it will be 2. And after 18 overs, Scotland 126 for 9.
Yeah, 2 overs to go. Good spell from Dutt. I mean, look, we talk about right arm off spinners around the world. He just keeps growing in stature. To go, doesn't pick up a wicket, but 20 runs off your 4 overs as a right arm offie, sensational.
And I think in his heart, Aryan believes he can compete with any batter in the whole world. And he's had some massive wickets, hasn't he, in his Netherlands career?
Bubba Azam, Livingston, he's picked up some pretty big names. So, yeah, looking at the tail of the tape and the Worms, just that start, 3 early wickets, and then it was sort of a counterpunch from Barrington and Cross. They lost that wicket there in the 12th over, Vinny, the bang-bang, 12th, 13th over, and that sort of just killed the contest.
Every time Scotland look like they're turning it around, they've just lost that wicket, haven't they?
Correct, and a big reason for this win for the Netherlands is Kingma on your screen. 3 wickets. He'd love a little cheeky 4 for here. Yeah,
they can walk home. Probably be on his couch.
I was listening to you and Andrew there. That is his house, just over there. It's unbelievable.
I couldn't believe he meant literally that was his house. Anyway, Kingma to try and finish things off, and he might just do that. He's gone, and it's game, set, match, and Viv does get 4. What a great performance from Viv Kingma. Potentially the player of the match performance as well, when you consider what he did at the start of the innings. He also finishes things off, and Scotland all out for 126.
Yeah, credit to the Netherlands. They've been the better of the 2 sides today, but I do expect Scotland to come back strongly in this series. Kingma ends up with 4 wickets, Vinny. Tough to call a man of the match in this one. Be interesting to see what they say, but overall, bowled well as a collective, put the runs on the board. A pretty clinical performance from the Netherlands.
Yeah, look, it is tough. I'm kind of leaning towards Viv. I mean, 4 wickets in a match. Looking at the batting, obviously Levitt and Vikram played pretty important innings. That one looks dead to me, hitting him in front of off and going on to crash into middle and off. And I think that Curry pretty much knew the writing was on the wall. Obviously Cross for what he did in the second innings. For me, Viv, I just think, especially when you look at the start of the second innings, he bowled that over. He took 1 for 3. Only 1 was off the bat. Aryan Dutt had set it up with just 1 off the first over. So he's my player of the match, but I guess we'll have to see what happens. We'll find out at the post-match presentation with Andrew Leonard.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And overall, you can see some big smiles on the face of the Netherlands at the moment as they get a warm sort of round of applause coming off the field from the Dutch local fans who have come out today. They've been preparing for this series in the World Cup, and they've hit the ground running. They're going to be top of the table after night 1, but there's a long way to go. Yeah,
for Scotland, obviously some things they can work on, but I don't think they'll be too kind of down crest about it. I think there were some positive signs there. I think they when they got it right, they had periods of the game where they were on top. And we talked a lot kind of through those middle overs, for example, the first innings, that the spin seemed to work for Scotland. And I also liked Curry's game. I thought that he bowled really well. I think the main with his change of pace, they seem to be coming out well. That's early in the piece, but it is the hosts that get off to a winning start. 167 to 126, 41 runs the margin. And here's how things started. Viv Kingma bending the ball a little bit in the first over he bowled, which was the second of the innings, forcing that false shot to mid-off. That was kind of a build-up of the pressure that was started with Dutt and Hares. He just looked kind of horribly out of touch. Didn't really come to terms. He was the kind of the Max O'Dowd-like innings, I suppose, in the second half. So some had it, some didn't, but the hosts off to a winning start.
Yeah, and that was bang, bang, bang. 16 for 3 after 4 overs, and we thought, well, this is a long way away for the Scottish side. But a brilliant partnership started to come between Berrington and Cross. They batted beautifully. They timed it nicely. That was a lovely shot from Cross to get him going. A little bit of a half volley on leg stump. Clipped Paul Van Meekeren for a massive 6. The big man, Dorham, was brought into the attack early in the power play. Didn't pay off for him early as there were some nice shots over the offside. And as this partnership began to build, Vinny, started to think, well, Scotland are right back in this game.
There's a real sense of possibility about it, wasn't it? And Berrington and Cross, two very experienced campaigners. And they certainly weren't intimidated by the situation. They took some calculated risks on. I think Berrington had the biggest hit of the day down the ground that ended up rattling the trees. Poor Maxi. Well, he'll have tomorrow to try and show a bit more of what he is capable of. Of course, he's had a great couple of years. That was the one that absolutely smashed into the branches. This was the old double play, caught and stumped. That was the end of Berrington. That was a big blow. But with Cross still there, had the chance to still impact the game. And he certainly took on the fast ball, I think, particularly well, using the pace of Van Meekeren against him a couple of times. But as the wickets fell around him, it was a lot to do.
Yeah, it was just those wickets in the 15th, 16th over that killed the chase. And big catch from the big man Dorham out there, who's had a really good debut. Got hit a little bit for 2 wickets. A lovely shot off Kingma, who was brought back. And remember my co-commentator Andrew Land said, this is when they're going to come. This is the last big push. But the wickets just kept on falling. And, well, credit overall to Netherlands. I think they bowled extremely well on this pitch, Vinny. They had a lot of variety. They changed their pace and they capitalised when they needed to.
And maybe a little bit of that local knowledge coming in as well. I think it's clever how they used Dutt up front. Obviously, I think the Pacers kind of found their length. They were just a bit more effective, I think, especially in the first half innings. Van Beek, well, he got a fake hat trick. But it was still pretty important. He went bang, bang, and then Viv finishing things off. And that was the one. Curry caught dead in front, and Scotland all out for 126.
Yeah, Kingma, sensational figures. 4 for 21 on his home turf, his home soil. He plays his top class of cricket here as well. He's a very proud Dutchman, and you can understand winning the first game pretty comprehensively in the end. That'll be a positive dressing room. Some beautiful shots. It's a gorgeous ground out here at VCC.
Yeah, it really is. I know they've got the second ground behind there. I know there's some cricket going on there today. Looking at the scorecard, Cross with 49. Fell late in the piece after keeping the chase alive, 39 to Berrington. They were the two key players. In fact, no one else able to reach double figures. So I'm sure there's a few of the Scottish bats that are keen to make amends later in the series.
They'll be itching. They'll know that they can put on a better batting performance in the coming games. But Berrington and Cross, they stood out like a sore thumb, really. They batted beautifully. Just not much support elsewhere. I think overall, the thing that we're seeing with the Netherlands, a very well-rounded sort of group in the bowling department. Dutt with his off-spin, Kingma with his away swing early, Logan Van Beek can bowl at any time of the innings. I think Daniel Dorham's a bit of a finder. Paul Van Meekeren is a bit of the enforcer. They're very well-rounded, and they bowl well as a collective to bowl the Scots out for 126.
I'll be curious to see the player of the match. I've got to say, thought Kingma was excellent with 4 wickets there. He's probably my pick. 3 for Van Beek, and he was also excellent. Dorham, okay, we said looks a bit expensive, but still in a game where the Netherlands scored 8.5 and over, he went for less than 9 and over. So he wasn't hideously expensive by any means. I liked the way he seemed to kind of challenge the batters to go after him, and he had those subtle variation. You tend to think about spin bowling being kind of uber defensive and kind of always jamming it in there, but I think he asked the right questions and probably more importantly had the fielders in the right spots to protect. So Netherlands versus Scotland in game 1, and it is a Netherlands win by 41 runs. Interestingly, no one reaches 50 in the game. I wonder if that's indicative of the kind of scoring we'll get, or maybe the scores will go up a little bit as we head further into the series. So obviously plenty happening here in the Netherlands and all around the ECN universe. I know there's more cricket if you want to stay on the network tonight. All you have to do is go to our YouTube channel, ECN European Cricket Network. I know that Jules is planning to do right after this broadcast. Ireland, Scotland, and Netherlands, of course, heading to the T20 World Cup as well, which you can catch live and exclusive on ICC TV. If you are watching from certain territories, this is great matchups there. Of course, tomorrow we're going to see the Ireland squad for the first time, and they will be taking on the hosts. And I know that Paul Sterling and his charges will be very keen to get out here and experience the conditions. Of course, Ireland, they'll be in a pretty confident move, having chalked up a win against Pakistan just last week.
Yeah, and that'll be a series they sort of feel they could have won. They batted and bowled really well back home in Ireland, so we'll get to see them tomorrow. Very exciting. And Scotland, obviously, will go back to the drawing board. Looking at that Irish side, obviously, Paul Sterling and all his experience coming over. It's a very talented side. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. But plenty of cricket action from the 18th to the 24th all the time in The Hague. And we get some 5 p.m. start again tomorrow. Can't wait for that. And well, tomorrow, if you are in the area, you should need to come down to VCC Vorburg, with plenty of good cricket action is going to be on. And looking forward to all the live T20Is we have, Vinny.
Yeah, well, just found out that Viv Kingma is the player of the match, and so certainly be keen to maybe have a word with him. You might be able to catch that on our European Cricket social media. But congratulations to the hosts. They do get the win. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, with Netherlands take on Ireland for the first time, and it'll be the same start time, so 3 p.m. GMT, which is 5 o'clock in Central Europe and 8:30 p.m. in India. Corey, I've got to say, it's been great to be with you, kind of on your home turf, even though we are the Spanish national coach.
I've still got the lanyard on.
Yeah, well, Rutgers Corey, you'll see him live here tomorrow. I'll be back, Vinny Sandy, Mr. Maximo here with Corey Rutgers on behalf of Andrew Leonard. Hope you have a happy and a safe evening. We'll see you tomorrow for more action right here in the Netherlands. This is the T20I Tri-Series. For now, it's hasta mañana.